Chapter 821. The Four Shadows of the Past Gather. The night passed by in a blink of an eye. The 5 major ninja squadrons all started to retreat towards the back one after another. The lineup that was originally intended to surround the mountain cemetery has now completely collapsed. All the ninjas are starting to understand now. Of myself and others may have been completely leaked out. The first coalition army of the Middle Distance Coalition Army has suffered heavy losses at this moment. Many ninjas were all killed in the first wave of sneak attacks. Of the Melee Coalition Army was also not much better. They also suffered a sneak attack and lost a lot of ninjas. Combat at close to medium range with the 3rd unit, although they are in the rear. However, their losses were the heaviest, and now the ninjas' military heart has been completely dissipated. Because Kimimaro is here, naturally they are weakened to non, 3,220 inches. Often serious. Long-distance combat coalition army and combat special forces also encountered obstacles one after another. So far, before departure, the confident ninja coalition has all fallen into passive at this moment. The sky is full of yellow sand, and it hangs out. The howling wind was whistling constantly beside my ears. This is a desert area, and at this moment a man covered in bandages is walking on it quietly. Next second. He stopped suddenly, immediately. Hand seal with both hands and slap down. A boom boom sounded. A man covered in bandages, 3 coffins slowly rose from the sand in front of his eyes. Bang bang bang. The lid of the coffin fell, and 3 people walked out from inside, all of them closing their eyes at the moment. I saw 3 people, all of them with their own characteristics, and the chakra power exuded from the whole body is quite powerful. One of the men was a dark-skinned man with long light yellow hair, an elderly man with a long beard. He is a burly man with a lightning-shaped scar on his chest and a tattoo of thunder on his right shoulder. Word. The other man, with long yellow hair, was wearing a high-neck trench coat, tied with a black ribbon at the waist, and lined with a green autumn coat. A closer look reveals that he has no eyebrows and a mustache face, which makes him look very funny. As for the last man, he was the most ordinary of the 2. He has short brown hair, and wears a very normal black ninja suit, lined with mesh clothes is also normal. When the 4 people at this moment are all in this position. Still, in the back, he was sitting on a rock, feeling it quietly. Silent for half a second, he smiled. The 4th generation Kazekage, the 2nd generation Tsuchikage, the 3rd generation Reikage, the 2nd generation Mizukage. Unfortunately, there is no Hokage. Shaking his head, his face was solemn and slow, but all the dynasties have been assembled. Hee, start killing each other with your descendants. Solution. As soon as the voice fell, immediately. Sitting with one hand, he shouted. In an instant. Front battlefield, all 4 of the 4 in this desert position immediately begin to return to consciousness. With their eyes closed were also immediately open. 3 generations of Reikage he immediately be the first to react. Looking around, a puzzled expression appeared on his face. This is there. I didn't think that the former enemies could be reunited again. On the other side, the 2nd generation of Mizukage Ghost Lanyu, he spread his hands and looked at the bandaged man in front of him, and looked at the 3rd generation of Reikage next to him. No, there is another person I don't know. 2nd generation of Mizukage Ghost Lanyu turned his head and looked at the 4th generation of Kazekage Rasa and said with a smile. Quote. Hearing the teasing of the 2nd generation Mizukage Ghost Lantern Moon, the 4th generation Kazekage Rasa frowned and looked at him without speaking. It seems that this is a despicable scheme of the 2nd generation Hokage. The man whose whole body was covered with white bandages, the 2nd generation Tsuchikage, said slowly, this is a secret technique to recall the dead in Huang Izumi and bind the soul. It looks like we were all forcibly summoned back by him. 2nd generation Tsuchikage looked around and analyzed softly. Summon the dead. Second generation Mizukage Ghost Lantern Hanyu's face condensed, and he couldn't help asking, "What the hell is going on? Have you forgotten?" Second generation Tsuchikage looked at Ghost Lantern without eyes and said, "It was me who killed you in the first place. You're already dead, second generation Mizukage." Ah. The second generation Mizukage Ghost Lantern Wanyu couldn't help but show a trace of silence. But in the next second, he immediately, pointing at the second generation Tsuchikage 5, he shouted, "No, didn't you die with me that time? No, I should have killed you. There is something." Tsuchikage, the second generation, looked at Ghost Lantern and said with a look of complete ignorance on his face, "These disputes should be put aside first, and the solution in front of you is the real thing." Seeing Ghost Lantern and Wanyu want to speak, the second generation Tsuchikage did not talk nonsense anymore, but led the topic elsewhere. Having said that, the second generation Tsuchikage looked around and couldn't help but puzzled again. "I just want to know where the second generation Hokage, who resurrected us, was hiding there. In this area, I can feel miles ahead with the same chakra as this new face." Second generation Tsuchikage said nothing, and looked back at the fourth generation Kazekage Rasa, also, with a large army. "If I remember correctly, you are." Three generations of Reikage I, seeming to remember something, looked at Rasa and said, "I am the fourth generation Kazekage of Sunagakur village." Rasa, who had been silent, looked at the three people in front of him and immediately revealed his identity. The previous generation has repeatedly mentioned the heroic deeds of several people. Second generation Mizukage Ghost Lanyu heard Rasa finish, he looked at the other two and said, "Also 1. 6 That means that Sunagakur has been maintained for at least 4 generations now." "No, 5 generations. Second generation of Mizukage Ghost Lantern Moon was a little confused, shrugged and said, "It's really weird to be in the future world. Be clear first. Second generation Tsuchikage is not immediately available." Rejecting it, he pointed to the ghost lamp and said solemnly, "I think this place is not the future. I think since it has been resurrected, this topic can be discussed later." Generation Reikage I put his hand on his chin and couldn't help saying, "Now find out the second generation Hokage, this matter is the key." "No, in my era, the second generation of Hokage was already dead." Shaking his head, Kazekage Rasa, the fourth generation, looked at the three and said, "So the person who uses this impure world reincarnation now should be someone else." Chapter 822. Demonstration. Warn. That fills the sky is still hanging up and down at this moment. These pea-sized gravels are a little painful when hitting people. The wind kept whistling. The climate here is very bad. But at the moment, now the fourth unit led by Gaara. They are here, quietly waiting for something. Although everyone looked a little tired at this moment, they did not relax their vigilance. Standing on the highest position, Gaara is now alone with one eye closed. This is a secret technique that uses sand to turn into an eye, and then goes to the outside world to scout. It can transmit the picture seen in the distance to the body on Gaara's side through visual image transmission. This time, it is still not far ahead, and the 4 shadows that were just released by Impure World Reincarnation have been discovered by Gaara at this moment. "Damn, are you actually launching the Impure World Reincarnation Ninja at cage level now?" Gaara bit Kiba and murmured in secret. Despite knowing some of Gong Yi's plans, Gaara is feeling a bit tricky at the moment. Apparently, he has felt it now at 29, and it seems that the opposite Uchiha Madara is already trying to sabotage the plan. This is completely different from what Gong Yi and arranged before. Thinking of this, Gaara immediately flashed to the bottom. Kazekage-sama, how are you doing now? Yeah, are we being ambushed again? Seeing Gaara's return, all the ninjas at the top of the alliance gathered around. At this moment, their faces were all serious, looking at Gaara and asked. "It's a little bad." Gaara looked at them and responded without concealment. in front of us, there are now 4 Impure World Reincarnation ninjas. It's actually a ninja from Impure World Reincarnation. Bastard, where the hell did they get all these guys? Gaara finished speaking. A group of people couldn't help biting Kiba and cursing. Before they set off, when they were passing through a canyon, they were attacked by ninjas of Impure World Reincarnation. In that battle, they were killed and injured so many times that it was almost troublesome to get rid of these Impure World Reincarnation ninjas. This time may be a lot more tricky than the last time. Gaara closed his eyes and shook his head, then opened it and said, "The 4 people in front of you are Kazekage, the 4th generation of Sunagakure village, Mizukage, the 2nd generation of Kurigakure village, Reikage, the 3rd generation of Kumogakure village, and Tsuchikage, the 2nd generation of Iwagakure village." Quote. When Gaara finished speaking, everyone around was silent. They were still thinking just now, and their thoughts on how to prepare for the next step have been disrupted. 4 people, all of them are the shadows of the past, which they did not expect. The 4th generation Kazekage, the 2nd generation Mizukage, the 3rd generation Shadow, the 2nd generation Tsuchikage. These guys, all of them were famous at the beginning. Besides, how can a guy who can become a shadow be an ordinary person? Gaara, can you be sure now? Temari frowned, looked at Gaara in front of him and asked again. It's been confirmed. Gaara nodded solemnly. He looked at everyone in front of him and said, "Now immediately. Inform the rear headquarters, and then all the staff will start preparing for battle." Village of Kumogakure, the land of thunder, the rear coalition headquarters. The few people who have not slept all night at this moment are all paying close attention to things on the front line. There are Yamanaka Inoichi, and Nara Shikaku's concealment. Some hidden problems on the front line, etc., they did not report it. Agent Reikage Dodai, the 3rd generation Tsuchikage Onoki, are gradually letting go at this moment. After all, although there was an ambush before, but at this moment there is no bad news, it is a good thing. They will know that the ninja coalition ahead, because of Gong Yi's relationship, has begun to retreat. The 4th coalition led by Kazekage Gaara has sent a message. At this time, Nara Shikaku frowned and walked up quickly. They found 4 enemies, the 4th generation Kazekage, the 2nd generation Mizukage, the 3rd generation Reikage, the 2nd generation Tsuchikage. What? Onoki and Dodai heard the news immediately. Standing up, the faces of the 2 of them changed dramatically. Obviously, the ninjas of Impure World Reincarnation in front of them thought a lot, but they didn't think that cage level even existed. They were also channeled. Bang! At this time, especially Onoki's face was gloomy. Water is about to drip. He looked at the group of people in front of him and couldn't help biting Kiba and said, "Akatsuki used Impure World Reincarnation to release Tsuchikage, the 2nd generation, and captured the tailed beast of my Iwagakure village." A pair of eyes were full of resentment, and now Onoki couldn't help but continue to speak. "It seems that this Akatsuki guy, they are trying to use the shadows to kill our coalition." No. At this time, Dodai also frowned and said, "Ying is not joking, now this matter, we must stop them." Akatsuki actually dispatched a shadow. Gong Yi, who had not spoken all the time, looked forward and said involuntarily. According to the original book, Gong Yi knew that the Gaara team would meet the 4 shadows. However, this will work. Gong Yi's previous arrangement was not like this. 4 shadows are assigned to the 320th position, which is the 1st unit of Mifune and Kumogakure village. But now, Ying was still assigned to Gaara's team to go to Uchiha Obito. He was protesting against himself, or rather, he was trying to warn himself of what Gong Yi thought of this at the moment, and he couldn't help but sneer inside. Uchiha Obito so far, he's taking Gong Yi's plan too simplistic. Even his behavior like this actually means nothing to Gong Yi. Although it seems that Uchiha Obito's side has disrupted some kind of plan of Gong Yi. But Gong Yi now has a kung fu skills and doesn't care at all. The four shadows of all dynasties, since they have all been dispatched to Gaara's wing. 4. Gong Yi, it's actually pretty good. Anyway, the entire 555th Alliance will need to be weakened sooner or later. Uchiha Obito's behavior has not affected him at all. Even said that now that he is like this, Gong Yi doesn't need to wait any longer. This time, we can officially start and implement our future arrangements. The fourth ninja war has begun, and they have also killed each other for a day. The effect on Uchiha Obito's side is equally minimal. Chapter 823. Kumogakure Gold-Silver Brothers. Is the intelligence true now? This will be in the command room at Kumogakure Village, when everyone's emotions have calmed down. Gong Yi looked at Nara Shikaku here and asked directly. It's all true, it's been confirmed. Nara Shikaku nodded meaningfully and continued. The two sides are very likely now, and they are about to meet. But since there are four shadows, why do we perceive only 3 people in front of us at the moment? Agent Reikage Dodai, who was confused at the moment, said directly. Reikage, you are wrong. At this time, when Gong Yi was about to speak, now Onoki looked at him and said, the second generation Tsuchikage is here. Since the perceived number was 4 before, it is not unusual that it has suddenly become 3. Onoki looked serious and continued to speak slowly. There is no doubt that all this is on the body of the second generation Tsuchikage Wusama. Someone can evade the perception system technique at the headquarters. Agent Reikage Dodai showed a hint of horror on his face. This second generation Tsuchikage of Iwagakure village is really a terrible enemy. My lords, the tens of thousands of white monsters we tracked down before are too many at the moment. At this time, Han of Iwagakure village, that is, a loyal subordinate of the Divine Consciousness clone, came here and reported, with our current situation, it is no longer possible to perceive and track a specific person. As Han said, he looked at Gong Yi intentionally or unintentionally. At this moment, all of this is naturally Gong Yi's plan here. 100,000 white Zetsu, according to the previous arrangement, should come to the coastal location to attack the village of Kumogakure, the land of thunder. Of course, what Uchiha Obito was thinking at the moment, I can't be sure with Gong Yi. But Uchiha Obito has been known for a long time, and he is a very unstable factor there. So this time, Gong Yi has already ruled him out and proceeded according to his previous plan. Anyway, even Uchiha Obito, if he doesn't act according to his plan, then it doesn't matter. Uchiha Obito is extremely cunning by nature. How could Gong Yi cooperate with him? How could he not leave behind the first unit? Now it has come into contact with tens of thousands of enemy troops again. At this time, another Kumogakure village ninja also rushed over and looked at Gong Yi and the others. They requested to group the perception personnel of the White Monster Group and the Impure World Reincarnation Group. Got it. Gong Yi nodded, looking at Han in Iwagakure village, now immediately. Said, Han, you are responsible for expanding perception. Understood, General. Cold here is also immediately. Immediately. And at this time, another intelligence officer also ran over. The whole, safe. The front line seems to be gradually in chaos. The Impure World Reincarnation troop of the enemy's main force has now launched a reckless collision with the first troop in front. And every ninja, now they are all shouting their names. Holding the document, another ninja in charge of perception came running. And right at the Kumogakure village headquarters, it's time to get busy. Impure World Reincarnation Army on the front line, they seem to be a cover, the coastal location of the Country of Thunder. At this moment, there are already quite a few white Zetsu here, and they are slowly showing their bodies in the sea. White Zetsu in front of them, surrounded by the sea, surrounded the entire land of thunder. Look carefully, almost all of the 100,000 white Zetsus that were detected earlier are here. There were only a few tens of thousands of people holding back the 5 major companies, as well as the mighty Impure World Reincarnation Army. The plot has already shifted. Except, it can still be the same as the original in some places. the others have long been completely different. At this moment, because of Gong Yi's reasons, the troops left behind in this coastal position are actually only a small wave. With their strength, it is still difficult to resist the entry of the tens of thousands of white Zetsu troops. Come on, now those white monsters are already preparing for the coastal login operation. Here is a Kumogakure village ninja in charge of the squad here, his face immediately. The discoloration couldn't help but exclaimed, "Quick, inform the rear command post, everyone is ready to start fighting." A staggering amount. The group of ninjas standing behind looked at the densely packed white Zetsu in front of them and their faces changed. It doesn't look like it's just a staggering number. Another Jonin, his eyes fixed on the front, we seem to have encountered the impure world reincarnation force here, too. At this time, as the ninja spoke, everyone looked carefully towards the front. At this moment, there were also several figures different from white Zetsu. At a glance, there are Kato-dan and Coke, both. Could it be? How could it be? Anyone could speak again. A Kumogakure village ninja in the rear was trembling all over. He couldn't help but retreat to the back, and he kept mumbling, "It's really those two." "What are you talking about?" A Sunagakure village ninja looked at the Kumogakure village ninja with a puzzled face and asked, "What's wrong with you?" "It's Lord Golden Horn and Lord Silver Horn." Pointing forward tremblingly, the Kumogakure village ninja immediately said, "It is difficult for us to resist the two adults, quickly send this news back to the headquarters." At the same time, on the periphery of the country of Thunder has gradually entered the enemy's army at this moment. Their information has been quickly passed to the rear again. Here, Gong Yi, Dodai, Onoki, and others have not finished the frontline matters, and the members in charge of information transmission here immediately. He came running sweating profusely. At the coastal location behind the headquarters, there are now a large number of white monsters. There is no polite part now, the ninja immediately continued, and also found the impure world reincarnation army, which found the Golden Horn and the Silver Horn lords of Kumogakure village. And perceived the troops on them, and found a huge chakra, suspected of Kyubi, 9 tails. Ugly face, the ninja reported all the news he had received to several people. Can't be wrong. Acting Reikage Dodai, his expression darkened immediately. Also stood up. They should be the Golden Silver brothers in my Kumogakure village. Boom. Damn it. At this time, even if he was acting as Reikage Dodai, he couldn't help knocking on the table angrily, and said very embarrassingly, "The frontline troops are now encountering a large number of impure world reincarnation troops, and even the Four Shadows are among them, and the rear here was originally we didn't think Akatsuki would come easily, but they also launched an attack along the coast, and among them was the Golden Silver brother." Chapter 824. Coastal Defense Line Crisis. There are not too many ninja troops deployed along the coast. Agent Reikage Dodai said with a serious face, "Now if this is the case, they can't last long. If it doesn't work, no matter what, I need to go into battle myself." Said that, the agent Reikage Dodai slammed the table and continued to speak. After all, the Golden Horn and Silver Horn brothers in Kumogakure village are very difficult to deal with. With such a little ninja power, it can only be all in vain. Golden Silver brothers. The appearance of the agent Reikage Dodai, Onoki's expression froze. As for the two ninjas from Kumogakure village, he still has some information recorded. Yes, their strength range has completely exceeded the limit that regular ninjas can resist. Agent Reikage Dodai didn't say much now, just nodded and continued. All in all, these two are dangerous now. Golden Horn brother Silver Horn, I have also seen it in the documents in the village. At this time, Gong Yi, who had not spoken, said, now they are indeed very dangerous. Golden Horn Silver Corner. 4. These two, Gong Yi, who is familiar with the original work, is simply too familiar. Even this time, their presence helped Gong Yi a lot. Golden Horn and Silver Horn brothers, They are two senior elite Jonin from Kumogakure village in the Land of Thunder. He is also the leader of the Golden Horn Force, good at chasing, and has the blood of the Six Paths Immortal. Therefore, he can freely manipulate the 5 ninja tools of the Six Paths Immortal, and his power is superior to the 5 shadows. At that time it was called, 2 rays of light in the cloud. And the reason is because I sense that there is a chakra belonging to Kyubi, 9 tails, in their bodies. That is because in the original Sengoku period, Kumogakure village once tried to capture Kyubi, 9 tails. The golden horn silver horn was swallowed in the battle with Kyubi, 9 tails, and the 2 ate Kyubi, 9 tails belly. The flesh and blood survived. So, this allowed them to absorb part of the power of Kyubi, 9 tails. Later, because of the power of Kyubi, 9 tails, it was possible to easily use the Six Paths Immortal Noble Phantasm. Under normal circumstances, it is still very harsh to use the Six Paths Immortal Noble Phantasm. Just consuming a huge amount of chakra is not something that ordinary people can afford. And these things, Gong Yi knows Akatsuki through the original book. Really made the two famous, and was recorded in the documents, was when the first ninja war broke out. Kumogakure village made a desperate attempt and invested more than 1,000 ninjas to attack Konoha. The second generation Hokage Tobarama led the village's elite Shinichi to stop Kumogakure's invasion, guarding Shinobi village, bringing victory to Konoha and making Kumogakure end in defeat. End of the war, Kumogakure split, because the second generation Reikage wanted to stop the war, but the ninjas under him didn't want it. The state of war, therefore, at the ceremony of the alliance between Reikage and Hokage, a coup d'état took place in the Golden Horn and Silver Horn. The two used the power of the Six Paths ninja tools and Kyubi, 9 tails chakra to make the second generation Reikage and the second generation Fire seriously injured on the verge of death. Afterwards, Tobarama led his subordinates to break through the siege, and the Golden Horn and Silver Horn pursued the victory. In order to save the seedlings of Konoha, Tobarama decided to stay behind. However, even at this critical juncture, the meticulous Tobarama secretly tested his subordinates to choose the right heir. In the end, Danzo hesitated, and Sarutobi Hiruzen volunteered without hesitation, so at that time, Tobarama named him the first 3 generations of Hokage. After that, the second generation Hokage Tobarama was alone to deal with the 5 ninja tools that could freely manipulate the 6 Paths Immortals, and the power was superior to the 5 shadows, and the Golden Horn Silver Horn with Kyubi, 9 tails chakra. After a great battle, the second generation Hokage Tobarama sacrificed himself to give his subordinates time to escape, and was regarded as a hero who guarded Konoha, and the enemy paid a very painful price. Because of this sensation in the ninja world, the two brothers became the most vicious felons in history. Of course, their main role now is not to weaken the power of these ninja villages. Instead, help Gong Yi and let him use Uchiha Obito to revive Ten Tails. In the original book, it was actually because of this Golden Horn, the Silver Horn brother, that Ten Tails was completely resurrected. If I remember correctly, the normal situation should be that in the Fourth Ninja War, they were resurrected by Kabuto in the form of impure world reincarnation, with memory and consciousness, but their actions are still controlled, and then with the first unit of Darui. In a head-to-head battle, Silverhorn was defeated by Darui and sealed into Yuhi's gourd. Golden Horn was defeated by the new Ino Shikacho and others and sealed in an amber bottle. After that, Uchiha Obito, who threw the 2 artifacts into Geto Mazo, demonic statue of the outer path, used the power of Kyubi, 9 tails, within them to resurrect the 10 tails. Because Naruto can't be caught, the Golden Horn and Silver Horn brothers are actually very important now. Gong Yi also looked at Reikage Dodai, the somewhat impatient agent, and said slowly, "Reikage, don't worry about it now, this matter has to be considered in the long run. There is no way to plan in detail anymore." Dodai shook his head, and now he, who didn't know Gong Yi's purpose at all, was still, "At present, you don't understand at all how terrifying these two are. If the coastal position is lost, for our rear it is also a very serious and devastating blow. Now the coastal defense wing has begun to fight against the white monsters. At this time, another ninja in charge of transmitting information came. The strong enemies they face are too concentrated, and it is difficult to compete now. Battle situations are like living things, they change every moment. Shaking his head, Gong Yi said immediately. He looked at a large map on the table of 3 people. Now that you're ready to go, Raikage, I'll tell you about the planned route again. Now that Raikage has left, it's obeying Gong Yi's wishes. This battle, Gong Yi actually wanted to kill all the shadows. Besides, Terumi Mei and Gaara, Onoki is very tricky with this Dodai. So he headed to a coastal location, which also favors direct ideas. That's it, now Gong Yi has no longer vetoed the decision of the agent Raikage Dodai. And here, the entire front line and the rear are also in an emergency. Onoki and Dodai, who knew Gong Yi's real plan. At this time, seeing him finish speaking, they all looked at the map below, ready to listen. As a general, Gong Yi still had a huge voice during this battle. Even the stubborn Onoki, with a gloomy expression on his face, did not say anything. Nonsense. Chapter 825. Support Troops. Now let's start with the confirmation of each unit. Seeing that no one spoke, Gong Yi said directly, the first is the surprise force led by Konkuro. Although it has come into contact with Impure World Reincarnation, it has already defeated the enemy army. Currently, they are moving towards Akatsuki's lair. The rear wing, the first combat unit is the current Kimamaro's third unit. Gong Yi said, pointing to the map and continuing to speak. Although we have encountered a large number of white monsters ambushing and infested by the Impure World Reincarnation Army, at least no bad news has been delivered yet. And it's actually a little easier when you look at it this way. Looking at the agent Raikage Dodai, neither spoke with the current Tsuchikage Onoki. Gong Yi smiled and said, according to the news from the front line, the second unit has encountered a larger number of white monsters. As for the most serious thing at this moment, it is only the fourth unit led by Gaara who has encountered the 4 shadows of the past dynasties. And the location where a large number of white monsters have been attacked on the coast behind our side. As for the 5th unit, as well as the 1st unit, they don't have much problem now. Simply basing the battlefield on the previous intelligence information, Gong Yi said analytically, okay, it's time to say, I'll focus on the arrangements later. Serious face, Gong Yi said, now the battlefields along the coast are collectively called fields. And the location where Gaara and the 4 shadows of the past belong to is called the battlefield. As for the rest, it can also be sorted according to the battlefield. At this time, hearing Gong Yi finish saying this, Onoki looked at him and asked. Hokage, what's the use of what you're talking about now? No, if you look through these statistics. Gong Yi shook his head and immediately explained, we can see that the most perfect plan right now is to concentrate our forces to seize the advantage. When 2 forces are encountered separately, it is naturally difficult to deal with them when they are dispersed. Step, he arranged his previous plan, and with this opportunity, Gong Yi said all. Therefore, now we need to gather the 2 separate forces, and then firstly take the small enemy force on the opposite side completely. Kill it first, then go to the other side to help the rest of the power. Now it will be time, when the normal battle is almost over, Gong Yi will prepare to integrate the scattered forces once again. In this way, it is also convenient for you to weaken the ninja power more quickly, so as to achieve an efficient arrangement. Thinking of this, Gong Yi continued, therefore, now I have decided to break up the former wing again and quickly turn it from a combat force into a reinforcement force. All scattered, all from combat troops, to increase. Dodai and Onoki had a thoughtful look on their faces when they heard this. A long time, Dodai looked at Gong Yi and said in a deep voice, Hokage, what do you mean? I mean very simply. Gong Yi stared at the map on the table and immediately continued, the 3rd unit, although it is currently attacked, at least there is no problem, so it is flat. The second unit, although it also encountered a large number of enemy obstacles, it also passed back without any problems, so there is no big problem. The first unit and the fifth unit, although they have encountered the enemy before, have retreated to the rear at this moment, so they are idle ninja forces at the moment. So a simple look at it. Saying that, Gong Yi paused for a while, and then spoke again. The only people who are really in crisis now are Gaara's 4 troops and the coastal defense at our rear. Royal's small squadron. So in the next step, I decided that the third unit, the second unit, will continue to advance towards Akatsuki's lair. And the first unit is closest to the coastal position, now immediately gather together and reinforce towards the coastal small wing. And the fifth unit, the fourth unit toward Gaara, also quickly reinforced. This time, the entire 5 major alliances will perform their own duties at this moment, and all their weaknesses will be strengthened. If they are equal, they will continue to face them. Just confront them. And block the coastal and Gaara troops to solve the disaster. We can continue to support the third and second troops in turn, and then directly advance to Akatsuki's nest all the way, so that we can officially face them, launch a decisive battle, a real showdown victory. Gong Yi almost finished talking about the plan in his mind. Although it sounds good, in fact, all this is just Gong Yi wanting to break up the troops and bring them back into the cage. At Gaara's place now, it's his own people, and the fifth wing has passed, and it can be consumed better at that time. The coastal troops is responsible for their own spiritual avatar. At that time, you can also use the battle to see if there is a way to get rid of the agent Reikage Dodai on the coast. As for Kimimaro, he can also continue to weaken the alliances he brings. Well, these plans and arrangements were naturally not arranged by Gong Yi when his head was hot. Now he has already made up his mind. Battlefield is changing rapidly, which is why Gong Yi has several plans. Fortunately, at present, there are 555 major alliances in front, and I have already mastered 3. Therefore, there is no need to worry about offsetting too much of your own arrangement. Well, the best way so far, this is the only way. Silence, the Kung Fu agent Reikage Dodai nodded. Now after a simple thought, he also feels that this is the best plan at the moment. After all, the frontline alliances have begun to disperse at this moment, and at present there is no better way to deal with them than support each other. With the help of the other 2 wings at the moment, they did not encounter sneak attacks and enemy troops again, and now it is the best way to spread out to support the other 2 positions. This will represent Reikage Dodai, and he will not be allowed to go too much. Think. The coastal location of the Land of Thunder, the enemy army has already logged in, and the impure world reincarnation army that he is most afraid of. So he thinks Gong Yi's arrangement is very good. Indeed, Lord Hokage's method is currently the most effective. Nara Shikaku, as a staff officer, also nodded at this time. Maybe this time, we can use the rapid response plan to catch the enemy off guard, but instead give us an advantage. This moment, Nara Shikaku didn't know what Gong Yi meant, so naturally he was trying his best. Chapter 826. Onoki's teacher. Here Gong Yi finish. Acting Reikage Dodai and staff advisor Nara Shikaku made remarks. The face of the meeting is still there, the gloomy Onoki, who has not spoken at the moment. Obviously, now he is also thinking carefully. This skill, Onoki is indeed an old fox, Gong Yi's thorn in the eye. Although he has hatred with Akatsuki, he doesn't really follow Gong Yi's advice blindly. The 5 major ninja villages seem to cooperate sincerely at the moment, but in fact they are all guarding each other. Even the agent here, Reikage Dodai, the reason why he agrees with Gong Yi so happily. In fact, he has his own ideas. Now the coastal location, it belongs to the range of the country of thunder. And these, White Zetsu and the Impure World Reincarnation Army, if they log into the coastal position, then it will take advantage of the situation to enter the country of thunder, and then go straight to Wonglong and enter the village of Kumogakure. Once they really succeed, the land of thunder and the village of Kumogakure will be completely destroyed. This battle will also bring the kingdom of thunder into a battlefield. This kind of thing is something that the agent Reikage Dodai does not want, and he absolutely does not allow it. Therefore, such a crisis, I want it to be real immediately. The only solution is to fight back quickly. That's why, when Gong Yi mobilized the force of the alliance back to support, it was also the reason why he agreed. Was guided by Gong Yi intentionally or unintentionally. Now, although the coastal positions are defended, they are all special mobile teams. Although their comprehensive ability is strong, their number is not very large, and they basically only have about 10,000 people. But now, if you want to protect the place where the land of thunder is surrounded by the sea on 3 sides, it is not enough. With this thought in mind, the agent Reikage Dodai frowned and looked at Onoki. Tsuchikage, it's not here. It's time to continue to hesitate. The battlefield will not allow us to think carefully. Good. At this moment, Tsuchikagenoki also nodded and patted the table. Now Akatsuki is so weird, that's all. Then I'll do it right away. Go to the coastal position first, and wait for the arrival of the support troops. Agent Reikage Dodai didn't talk nonsense. After speaking, he took a big step and left the command post directly. At this time, naturally, no one will stop it. They all knew in their hearts that if this group of Akatsuki guys entered the land of thunder, the consequences would be unimaginable. Except, the village of Kumogakure, the land of thunder, if their headquarters were attacked, it would also be a devastating blow to the entire coalition. They are responsible for dispatching arrangements here, as well as follow-up support, etc. Once paralyzed, the consequences are really unimaginable. Hokage, now you have a good plan. Seeing that the agent Reikage Dodai had left Onoki, he looked at the palace and said, but if you want to be really perfect and impeccable, I feel that I still need to fill it. How to say this? Hearing Onoki finish speaking, Gong Yi had already guessed something in his heart. But he didn't show it, but looked at Onoki and asked. You may not know, this second-generation Tsuchikage is an extraordinary ninja, and now the only one who really understands him is the old man. Looking around, looking at Gong Yi and the others, Onoki said slowly, so, now he should be the most troublesome of the 4 shadows of all dynasties. Second-generation Tsuchikage, this name has been mentioned by many people. Assistant Reikage, who stayed here, said slowly at this moment, however, what kind of ninja is he? Although I know his chakra can't feel it, it's really scary like this. You were wrong. Waiting for Onoki to speak, Gong Yi shook his head and said with a wry smile, second-generation Tsuchikage, he should say that not only has the ability to hide, but he has also mastered a more advanced ability than Kekkei Genkei. It's called the blood following elimination by everyone. Blood is eliminated. Assistant Reikage heard this, his face immediately. Looking at Onoki in discoloration. I always thought that the only one with this ability was you, the 3rd-generation Tsuchikage. I can't imagine that even this 2nd-generation Tsuchikage, he is. Hokage is right, and that's what I was about to say. Onoki nodded with his eyes closed, and said slowly, 2nd-generation Tsuchikage, he is able to combine the 3 properties of wind, land and fire at the same time as master. And to put it bluntly, the 2nd-generation Tsuchikage taught me that Jinten particle style was eliminated by the blood of my current master. Opening his eyes, he seemed to reveal some memories. Onoki continued, 2nd-generation Tsuchikage, he was my teacher back then. Quote. Hearing Onoki's words, except Gong Yi, the faces of everyone else were solemn. The forehead of Reikage's assistant, there was even a cold sweat. The guy who has cultivated a generation of cage-level powerhouses, how terrifying his true abilities are. The unknowing ninjas can't help but be cast in a haze at the moment. The old man didn't even think about it. Shaking his head, Onoki said helplessly, at this age, I have to fight against the long-lost teacher. I want to live a few more years after getting rid of Akatsuki. So, do you want to go, Tsuchikage? Hearing Onoki's words here, Gongyi looked at Onoki and asked. Well, since this is the case now, it is impossible for this old man to hide here and take a break. Onoki nodded, and his face became very serious. Now Akatsuki's hatred, this old man wants to solve it by himself, and it's uncomfortable enough to stay here now. But there may also be great danger there. Gongyi naturally knew what Onoki was thinking, but he would also pretend to spread his hands and say, especially at your age now, you will be very passive when it comes to the four shadows of all dynasties. HMPH, Hokage boy, don't think of the old man too weakly. When Onoki heard Gongyi finish speaking, he floated in the air with his hands behind his back and said, I have played against the second-generation Tsuchikage before, but this time, despite the other three shadows, the old man will still have no problem. If that's the case, then the wing on Gaara's side will depend on you, Tsuchikage. Not talking anymore, Gongyi nodded and spoke directly, okay. Onoki this time, also immediately. Leave and head towards the battlefield on the front line. Far, the entire meeting room is now in the command room. Through Gongyi's calculations, the master has been completely inhabited. To read the ununderlined version of the novel, please download the latest chapter of Fei Lu Xiaokan. Baidu search 99 Playmate find 99 Novel Network and LT. 827. Affiliated Village. When the agent Reikage Dodai, Tsuchikage Onoki left. The entire command post is basically all Gongyi's own people. As for the ninja left by Tsuchikage and his agent Reikage Dodai, it is no longer a disaster. Their presence or absence will not have any influence on Gongyi at all. Well, to put it bluntly, now the command headquarters in the rear has been completely mastered by me. Looking around, there are only a few other ninjas from the four major ninja villages who are still unaware. The faces of the rest of the people also showed a trace of comprehension more or less. The whole plan can officially start. Now all the alliances on the front line, they naturally obey their own orders. This time, it means that Gongyi can mobilize them at will. Of course, Gongyi doesn't reveal his goals and ambitions too much now. He looked at Nara Shikaku, and said according to the plan just now, Sir Shikaku, now you will order the transfer immediately. Pass it on. The third unit, the second unit, continues to advance towards Akatsuki's lair. And the previous combat unit, the first unit, is now at once. Change the route, turn all into support teams, and go to the coastal position to support Agent Reikage Dodai to defend their rear headquarters in the Kumogakure village. And the 5th Corps, likewise, has now become a support for the 2nd Corps, immediately. Go to the 4th unit led by Gaara and support Onoki and the others. Everything is well arranged. Now everything is mastered in Gongyi's hands. The entire battle has been going on for 2 days. When the 90,000 coalition forces have been dispatched, it is now counted by Yamanaka Inoichi. Nearly 30,000 ninja powers have been lost at this moment. In just 2 days, the entire ninja coalition has lost more than half of its power. Because Gongyi has informed Uchiha Obito before, and the reason. They set up an army of impure world reincarnation along the way, as well as an ambush of 100,000. The entire ninja coalition has lost so much at this moment. However, now Gongyi is not distressed, but full of joy. Because everything is arranged according to his vision. It took only 2 days to lose 30,000 ninja power. Gongyi felt that it was too slow. He wanted to end this war quickly, it was a bit boring, and he could see the end of the war. Now the next step, Gongyi has already been arranged. Consume the ninja power of the other 4 major ninja villages for one more wave, and you can dispatch yourself. First remove the daimyo of the 5 great powers, then Gosho and Dodai, then Uchiha Madara, Uchiha Obito and Otsutsuki Kagaya are left. As for Mizukage Terumi Mei, Gongyi now puts her in the must-kill ranks. Because Gong Yi has a feeling, and Terumi Mei is here, she is still very easy to guide. In fact, it seems that the 5 major ninja villages are here, although they are ranked according to the ranking, but the normal situation is that they are equal to each other. However, it will take time. After helping the Kurigakure village to establish the inland mission point, now they have various operations here in the Kurigakure village, and various things have happened. In fact, he was already under the village of Konoha without a trace. It's like an affiliated village. Although Terumi Mei and Kurigakure village, they don't actually feel much. But here Gong Yi can clearly feel it. Therefore, Kurigakure village and Terumi Mei are actually very good guides. As for Sunagakure village Gara, there is basically nothing going on here. He has been completely mastered by himself at this moment, and Sunagakure village has long since become an affiliated village of Konoha village. Those old things, at the top of the hierarchy, are basically all dead. And now the entire core management team has long since belonged to the faction that supports Gong Yi. Before you know it, Sunagakure village has already existed in name only. Well, at a glance, in fact, only the villages of Iwagakure and Kumogakure are currently the biggest worries of Gong Yi. Of course, there are also the 5 major countries of the ninja village, such as the Master, which is actually a scourge. Although they are just ordinary people without power, but these guys whose minds are blinded by power. At this moment, with the passage of time, the matter of the ninja village is becoming more and more critical. For Gong Yi, this is naturally very unpleasant. Under such circumstances, in fact, the great names of the 5 great powers, there is no need for them to exist now. Who cares about the name of the country of fire now? He respects and awes himself very much. But Gong Yi naturally knew that they were afraid of themselves, and now they are completely wary. The resource delivery of the Fire Nation to Konoha village has been reduced a lot. From here, it can be seen that there has long been a descent in the land of fire. It is estimated that if you don't kill them here first, then the rest of the ninja village will add these countries. The end, the Konoha village may be betrayed by the land of fire. In this way, the entire Konoha village is strong, but all the countries in the ninja village are eyeing at once. The end, although Gong Yi had the ability to kill them all, he was also very passive. So before they counterattacked, Gong Yi decided to get rid of them first. Anyway, it has progressed to the current situation. Gong Yi has no regrets. If you don't get rid of them first, then you will be eliminated by them in turn. Ninja World continent is intriguing, and now everyone can't be trusted. Just like the current Gong Yi, although his strength is strong, he does not trust everyone 100%. His cards are 10 tails. Now in the entire ninja continent, no one can know Akatsuki at all. Gong Yi is fully mastered, the power of the true ultimate. Soon after Gong Yi made arrangements here, now Nara Shikaku has notified Yamanaka Inoichi and sent all the news out. At this moment, the ninjas who are now in charge of the communication in the rear have also started to receive news one after another. The entire front wing, which has been silent for a long time, has started to operate again at this moment. Now the rear headquarters, when the news is released, it is naturally impossible for them not to execute it. The first unit, the second unit, the third unit, the fourth unit, the fifth unit, as well as the remaining small groups in the rear, front and other surrounding areas, all received message instructions. Basically, they can also understand the situation on the battlefield now. Chapter 828. Front line of the battlefield. In the land of soup. After 2 days of hard work, the major coalition forces have now made a step forward. They left the border of the land of thunder and crossed the place of the land of frost. Now despite the 100,000 uniques and the impediment of the impure world reincarnation army. But in the entire ninja coalition, there are naturally many excellent ninjas. At the same time, their numbers are still very advantageous in the front line. Because of Uchiha Obito, all the 100,000 absolute powers are now arranged on the coast. His real target is the headquarters of Kumogakure village in the Land of Thunder. Uchiha Obito naturally knew that he wanted to break the ninja coalition. Then the rear is the eyes of the coalition forces and the headquarters of the brain must be removed. Therefore, the transfer of Uchiha Obito's side has made the 5 coalition forces on the front seem to have good signs. The first unit. At this moment, the Middle Distance Joint Army unit is resting. After several previous battles, their tens of thousands of ninjas were all a little tired. But fortunately, when the last wave of enemies was defeated, they never encountered an enemy again. Captain, there's a message from the rear headquarters. A ninja with a special ninja gear, now immediately. Come here. He is the ninja responsible for communicating with the rear command. What's the news from the command now? Asked the captain in charge of the first unit, Captain Anbu of Kumogakure village. Now the coastal location of the Country of Thunder, at this moment encounters tens of thousands of enemy troops. The ninja in charge of communication had a bad face, and frowned at the moment. I found the Impure World Reincarnation Army, including the Golden Horn Silver Horn brothers from Kumogakure village. What? Captain Anbu of Kumogakure village, face immediately. Also discolored. He was sitting here just now, immediately. Standing up, he said with disbelief on his face, even the Golden Horn and Silver Horn brothers have also been released by Impure World Reincarnation. Heart beating wildly. As the captain of Anbu, he is the core executive of Kumogakure village. Now the Golden Horn and Silver Horn brothers, their data records are available in other ninja villages. Then, as a ninja from Kumogakure village, he knows it even more clearly. The strength of the two is terrifying. There are very few ninjas on the coast now. If the 2 of them are allowed to do it now, then the Land of Thunder and Kumogakure village will likely fall. At the same time, the rear headquarters is also very bad. The situation, it is even entirely possible that, will be destroyed. Once these, if true, this will have very serious consequences for the frontline coalition forces of these. This Anbu from Kumogakure village, he deeply understands the stakes involved. Not to mention, there are tens of thousands of enemies who are also logging in along the coast. Thinking of this, the Anbu captain immediately continued to ask, what instructions are sent to us from the headquarters now? Now on the coast, Lord Raikage has already passed by himself. This communication ninja from Kumogakure village, he did not talk nonsense, and said at the same time, now the rear headquarters order us, immediately. Follow the border line here and directly enter the coast of the Land of Thunder to provide support. I know, right now. Inform the troops, the coastal location of the Country of Thunder, and move forward at full speed. Nodding, the current Captain Anbu here, he still dares to hesitate. If he was here, causing irreversible consequences in the follow-up battlefield, then he would be a sinner. And now all the ninjas around here, they are from the 5 major ninja villages, and it is immediately at this moment. Something bad on the face. What Captain Anbu thought of, they also thought of it. Even now, what they think is worse than Captain Anbu's ninja, and a bit miserable. So that's why, now the tens of thousands of ninjas in the entire first unit, all of them are moving towards the coastal position of the Land of Thunder at a very high speed. Go. At the same time. 5th Unit, Combat Special Forces. Now with the 1st Unit, almost the same experience. After encountering several waves of enemy troops, they have just stabilized here. Now is the time to rest and prepare to move forward. Mifune-sama, there is a message from the rear headquarters. A burly warrior came to Mifune at this time and said. Mifune is the captain of the 5th Combat Special Forces. What's wrong? Mifune looked at the samurai and asked. The 4th unit that is not far from us now has been attacked by Impure World Reincarnation ninjas. The warrior responded immediately. Encountered Impure World Reincarnation ninja attack. Was confusion on Mifune's face, he didn't understand at all. An alliance of tens of thousands of people was attacked by Impure World Reincarnation, why should this matter be sent here? This will not wait. Mifune went to speak again, and the samurai continued. Now the impure world reincarnation ninja who attacked the fourth unit can already be identified as Keisuke Rasa, the fourth generation of Sunagakure village, Tsuchikage no second generation of Iwagakure village, and the third generation of Kumogakure village. Reikage, Mizukage, the second generation of Kurigakure village, the ghost lights and the moon. After hearing the samurai's report, Mifune's confused look disappeared instantly. Although the Iron Country is a neutral country, it does not participate in the war between ninjas. But the news of the major ninja villages, as well as the information of the major shadows, etc., Mifune also knows Akatsuki. Now that it's time, Mifune's face changes color when he hears the impure world reincarnation ninja attacking the fourth wing. The fourth generation of Sunagakure village Keisuke Rasa, the second generation of Iwagakure village Tsuchikage no, the third generation of Kumogakure village Reikage, the second generation of Kurigakure village Mizukage Ghost Lantern Magic Moon. These four ninjas were all cage-level powerhouses on the ninja continent, who had outstanding military exploits and strength. Mifune finally understood why this matter was reported to the rest of the wing. Thinking of this, Mifune also immediately asked the samurai, "What does the headquarters need us to do now?" Now Tsuchikajinoki from Iwagakure village has gone to the 4th Regiment for support, and the rear headquarters ordered us to go wherever we can as quickly as possible. Understood. Order now. Hurry to the position of the 4th Wing for support. The three ships looked serious and immediately gave orders. Yes. The samurai didn't talk nonsense either, immediately. Send the order of the three ships to the rear. Didn't take a while, and now the entire 5th unit is also moving quickly. The entire battlefield is changing rapidly. This is not the time for hesitation. That something bad will happen in the next second. Therefore, now all the ninjas, no matter from that village, dare not take it lightly. Chapter 829. Ruthless Killing. The battle continues. The 5 groups of ninja coalition forces that had set out separately before have now begun to be redispersed. The first unit led by Captain Anbu of Kumogakure village at this moment, the Middle Distance Coalition unit. It is now heading to the coastal position of the Land of Thunder at full speed, preparing to support the agent Reikage Dodai. Gong Yi's spiritual avatar, the Anbu captain of Iwagakure village, Yamazaki Akashi, the second unit he led, the Melee Combined Army unit. At this moment, it is still advancing towards Akatsuki's lair, while in disguise it is consuming the power of the ninjas, weakening the rest of the enemy village. Another group, Kimimaro, a disciple of Gong Yi, the third unit he led, fought a unit of the combined army at close and medium distances. Now it is also in sync with the avatar of the consciousness, and it is continuing to advance towards Akatsuki's lair, while also weakening the ninjas of the enemy village. The two, now basically, are all following Gong Yi's previous plan. There was no offset and everything went very smoothly. As for the 4th unit, the long-range combat combined army unit. Now this alliance, led by Gaara, has been hindered at this moment. The 4 shadows of the past from impure world reincarnation have already begun to block their way forward. 3rd generation of Tsuchikajinoki, who has left the rear command at this moment, is rushing to support. Also coming to support Gaara, there is also the 5th unit of Master Mifune, the general of the Iron Country, the special combat unit. They have now changed course and are converging towards Gaara's 4th wing. The entire battlefield situation has begun to explode. After several days of continuous fighting, although a group of ninjas felt a little tired. But most people are gradually numb at this moment. Border between the two countries. This is an uninhabited desert location. Yellow sand filled the sky, and the whistling wind kept filling my ears. That can't see the edge is the dominant here. The sand dunes are ups and downs, and it is clearly visible when looking forward. Desert, of course, is not exclusive to Sunagakure village. In the entire ninja continent, there are still many such areas. Now the fourth unit led by Gaara is waiting here quietly at the moment. Captain, now there is news from the rear. At this time, a ninja in charge of communication came here. What news? Gaara turned her head sideways and asked the ninja. The rear command has now sent support and is ready to work with us to resist the impure world reincarnation ninja. Communication ninja showed excitement on his face and continued. This time, the 3 generations of Tsuchikage from the rear have set off, and the 5th unit is also supporting us. Great, although the 4 shadows of the past generations are powerful, but as for the trapped passive. Hearing the communication ninja finish speaking, Tamari, who was standing next to Luo, couldn't help showing an excited look on his face. Even the 5th unit is here to support, and with Tsuchikage, Sama and Kazekage-sama, we can't possibly lose. The shadows of the past dynasties, although the strength is not weak, but presumably they will not be able to withstand our attack. Quote. This moment, the rest of the ninjas following Gaara also showed excitement on their faces one after another. Each of them, who was still a little worried before, has been swept away in an instant. 2 big alliances, 2 cage-level ninjas, now deal with 4 shadows of the past. Many of them felt that there was no problem at all at the moment. After all, so far, the 4 shadows of the past dynasties, they only exist in everyone's mind. Those who have really seen them have all become old fellows by now. Most of the entire alliance is basically a new generation of ninjas. So for everyone, they don't have an accurate understanding of the real ability and level of the shadows of the past dynasties. Therefore, it will take time to see that more and more support has come, and the morale of the entire coalition has begun to be encouraged again. At the same time, coast of the Land of Thunder. Kaden, Fire Style, Fire Bullet Technique. Raiden, Thunder Style, Thunder Spear Technique. Accompanied by the crisp sound of kunai, and the sound of ninjutsu shouting all around. In charge of guarding this place has already fought against White Zetsu, who has logged on to the coast. Front of the White Zetsu, they have come to the shore. Look around, it's all white. They are not afraid of death, and they are constantly fighting against the small wing that is merging with the 5 major ninja villages. And those, the ninjas of impure world reincarnation, are even more unscrupulous, harvesting in the crowd, and few ninjas can resist them. The first squad on the front line, the entire army is destroyed. The 5th team on the front line has been divided, and now it has been defeated. When the hands were fighting for less than half a sound, information was continuously transmitted one by one. Jonan, who was in charge of coastal defense, was also miserable now, with a pale expression on his face. He did not expect that the power of the small alliance here is actually so vulnerable. Particular, you can see in the distance, the Kumogakure Golden Horn Silver Horn brother, who is almost invincible. He is also very embarrassed. Captain. Next second, before he could give the order, the communication ninja here also flashed over immediately. Report to. News from the rear headquarters. Now he wants us to stay here, and now he has sent support. Support has been sent. The squad leader in charge of this name also looked happy. That's right. The communication ninja nodded, immediately. Said, now Lord Raikage has come in person, and the first major wing is already at the frontline coastal position, directly supporting it. Okay, let me know now and give me all my strength to resist the white monsters of Akatsuki and the attack of impure world reincarnation ninjas. An uplifting look on his face, the name Jonan is now. A big wave. Yes. Nodding, now several ninjas around are also immediately. Dodge away. Several battlefields. Fight again with Akatsuki's White Zetsu. The impure world reincarnation army is also mostly mixed in it. A new round of collision between the 2 sides, this time will start again. And because of Gong Yi's sake, the alliances that were originally scattered are also beginning to converge. The whole route, under the guidance of Gong Yi, has become more and more clear. All that is needed now is that when all the alliances are fully integrated, there will be another ruthless killing. All the ninjas don't even know Akatsuki. What is waiting for them next? 5 major leagues, all here now, are completely blinded by Gong Yi in the valley. Chapter 830, Battle of the Century. Hee, is it really here? Gong Yi looked forward quietly, standing in a hidden position. The tyrannical sense of consciousness is now fully diffused. From here, it's like a panoramic view. Nothing can escape Gong Yi's perception. Yes, just as Tsuchikajinoki set off with Agent Reikage Dodai. After Gong Yi left behind the Mokuden wood-style clone to monitor the headquarters and arrange plans, he has already come to the frontline battlefield. War is changing rapidly, and now the specific situation on the entire battlefield, it is impossible to guarantee 100% by simply relying on the plan. So Gong Yi, of course, needs to come and see for himself. The entire battlefield, although most of it can already be determined after everything. However, in some cases, Gong Yi still has to guide and promote behind the scenes. This kind of thing is still necessary. At the same time, just when Gong Yi was standing here, not far from him, the 4 shadows of the ages, who were released by impure world reincarnation, didn't notice Gong Yi at all. Tsuchikage knew with powerful perception, and he didn't find it at all. Gong Yi in the distance now, he doesn't exist at all. I was hit by impure world reincarnation, and it seems that my body has begun to not obey. The 4 shadows of the past dynasties are still there, looking at each other, they can't help but be confused here. They've just figured out impure world reincarnation, but they don't know the ins and outs of the rest of Akatsuki. Some operations are also restricted at the moment. Second generation Tsuchikage no. After hearing second generation Mizukage Ghost Lantern Moon finish speaking, he also spread out and said that he could not help preaching. It seems so. Second generation Mizukage Ghost Lanyu looked at his hand, and couldn't help but continue. I wanted to kill you first, but my body was not obedient at all. I really want to compete with you guys. Head to the side, the third generation Reikage I glanced at the second generation Tsuchikage Wu, and the second generation Mizukage Ghost Lantern Moon and others said. Apparently, seeing a few shadows together now makes the hearts of the 3 generations of Reikage stir. But it looks like you don't have such a chance now. Second generation of Mizukage Ghost Lantern Moon looked at the third generation of Reikage I, he shrugged and said playfully. Because of this skill, the 4 of them actually started walking automatically. Although the consciousness is still there, the body seems to be not theirs at all. That location. The 4th generation Kazekajirasa's pupils contracted, looking forward and murmured. There is Gaara, the position of the 4th wing of his master. Looks like there is going to be a fight, I don't want to fight. Second generation Mizukage Ghost Lanyu shook his head, and also stared at the 4 people. Although they didn't say it clearly, they were very clear. Now they seem to be being prepared to fight the ninja army ahead. It's just right, it's about to start now. Behind him, Gong Yi's handsome face couldn't help showing a sneer. Now he can already feel that Onoki has come to the 4th wing. And at this moment, the 4 shadows of the past dynasties just ahead, they also dispatched towards Gaara. At this time, Gong Yi didn't immediately appeared, and then directly closed the seal of the 4 shadows of the past dynasties back into the coffin. Even now, the 4 shadows of the past dynasties have been channeled out, so it is just right. Let them weaken some more, the ninja power of other enemy villages is a good choice. Later, I also prepared a lot of arrangements. This skill seems to be useless. If Gong Yi remembers correctly, many ninjas have been lost in this battle. After all, this time, Naruto will not be involved now. At this moment, he is still quietly staying in Konoha village, waiting with the rest of the ninja. Therefore, now the entire ninja coalition, without the help of Naruto, their situation will naturally not be much better. Blink time. While Gong Yi was still thinking quietly, Onoki's arrival was greeted with cheers. The entire 4th Regiment, the ninjas belonging to Iwagakure village were even more fanatical. In their eyes, now that their own Tsuchikage has arrived, then everything should be fine. And the rest of the ninja also thought the same, with 2 cage-level powerhouses, then the battle would not be a big difference. Kage, how are things going? Coming to the front, Onoki asked Gaara with a serious face. The strength of the 4 shadows of all dynasties, Onoki did not feel any relief at all. Although they have tens of thousands of ninjas here, and there are 2 cage-level ninjas. However, now Onoki also lacks any confidence. He is now the other way around and is still looking forward to the arrival of the 5th wing. Only with a perfect response, perhaps the 4 shadows of the past dynasties can be defeated here. Now they have found us. Gaara looked at Onoki, looked at him blankly and responded. Then it looks like it can only be met here. Onoki put his hands behind his back, his whole thin body floating in the air. That's right. Gaara nodded and turned her gaze forward. The 2 of us are now attacking from a distance. Onoki drifted to Gaara's side and continued, let's see how the enemy will deal with it. Good. Gaara looked ahead, and there were 4 people walking out of the endless desert. They all appeared on the horizon, their faces indifferent. The chakra fluctuations of the 4 people can clearly feel the horror. Gaara, Onoki, and other high-ranking ninjas all began to tense up, and had entered a state of preparation for battle. They didn't dare to take it lightly, and now it's not someone else. They are the 4th generation of Kage Rasa and Gaara's father. 2nd generation Tsuchikage Wu is also Onoki's teacher. The 3rd generation of Reikage is also the father of the 4th generation of Reikage. The 2nd generation Mizukage Ghost Lantern Moon, also a legendary cage-level ninja. Normally speaking, the 4 people in front of you now take out 1 person alone. In fact, it is enough to stir up the ninja continent. So, not to mention that they've already come together at the moment. The wind whistled and hung. Gong Yi was in the dark, and his smile gradually grew wider. This is the battle of the century. It is very rare to see such a scene now. At this time, Gong Yi, watching as a bystander, is a good enjoyment. Chapter 831. Dust and Dust, Sand and Sand, Second More. Are you really going to fight? Forget the rest of the village, fighting with my own ninjas is really unbearable. Of all dynasties are walking forward. While their consciousness is still there, their bodies are completely immune to the master. This kind of feeling makes the 4 of them very unhappy. The one who bound us with this technique. Orochimaru, just wait and see. Mizukage, the 2nd generation, bit Kiba and said. Although I kind of hate it. But on this point I agree. 2nd generation Tsuchikage said the same thing. Now, he is very resistant to this feeling. But there is no way, now that it has been released by impure world reincarnation, then it can only obey the control of the caster. Actually, there is no need to be so pessimistic. Reikage, the 3rd generation head who has been silent, looked at the 3 of them out of the corner of his eye and said slowly, the children will grow up slowly, and in the end, it is very likely that they have surpassed those of us seniors. It's really good to be like that. Kage Rasa, the 4th generation of eyes, looked forward quietly and said with emotion. Come on, I'll keep them outside first. At the same time, while the 4 were still talking, Gaara was here immediately. Both hands hand seal. Sand waterfall burial, shooting towards the bottom, chakra surging frantically. That had been flat in front of it before now began to swell up. Hula, the entire piece of gravel was like a tsunami, pressing straight ahead. All the ninjas in the back couldn't help exclaiming. Ahead, they could no longer see the sky, and some were just pieces of gravel. It is like an ocean of gravel, which makes people feel sad. The entire desert environment has completely increased Gaara's strength virtually. He seems to be in a perfect fit. This is already Gaara's home ground. The Hulula Desert is about to devour the four shadows of the past in front of them. Oh. Second generation of Mizukage Oni, Genu, saw the sea of gravel that had already begun to blow down in front of him. He didn't have the slightest fear at the moment, instead he smiled and praised, "It's really a spectacular sandstorm. This is the power of one tail." The fourth generation Kazekage Rasa, he looked up at the gravel in front of him and frowned, secretly said. Speaking of which, the current fourth generation Kazekage Rasa can't help but recall memories. His brows furrowed even more, and he couldn't help but blurt out, "The first move, is it? The art of slumbering." This, the fourth generation Kazekage Rasa immediately. Hand seal with both hands, also thinking about pressing down. Hula, the flakes are accompanied by golden grit, and the flakes emerge at this time. It, like a tsunami, in the same formation, headed towards the gravel ocean ahead. Gold. Third generation of eyes, Reikage Eye, looked at the golden particles of sea, and couldn't help whispering to himself, "I see, you can use Jident magnet style to manipulate gold dust." Boom. As soon as the third generation of Reikage's voice fell, the two pieces of gravel in front of her had already collided. In an instant, the two gravel oceans were entangled with each other, rising to a height of several hundred meters. Next second, they also collapsed into each other immediately, and the golden gravel blended with the yellow sand, and recovered the entire land. Hee, Jident magnet style. Seeing the first fight between the two sides, Gong Yi's face showed playfulness. Keke Genkai Jident magnet style of the fourth generation of Kazekage Rasa, Gong Yi has long been researched. That's the same ability as the three generations of Kazekage. You can freely control things containing iron, and you can freely control gold in sand. Of the former Shukaku people's Jinchuiki column power with the special attribute of its own magnetic chakra nature. Gold dust can be changed into various forms at will to attack and defend, and it was the most terrifying weapon in Sunagakure village at the beginning. Once inside a human or puppet, it can completely paralyze itself. In addition, because the chakra of the fourth generation Kazekage is magnetic weapons cannot affect him in any way. And Gong Yi also knew that this gold dust was very useful. Sunagakure village began to weaken gradually due to the state order to reduce the army. Rasa is using his Jident magnet style ninjutsu to collect gold dust as the village's funds. And this gold dust has even suppressed the tailed beast many times. No matter how you look at it, in fact, Rasa's ability should be called very terrifying. This time, the reason why Gong Yi did not stop the four shadows from fighting with the ninjutsu techniques used in the ninjutsu are very large. The weakening of these enemy village ninjas has a significant effect. Purple gold is heavier than sand. And this time, Rasa, who was still fighting on the front line, said quietly at this moment, "Mixing sand with gold dust can slow down the sand's movement. You actually use this trick against sand." Mizukage, the second generation, heard the words. He looked at Rasa out of the corner of his eye and said, "When Shukaku of sand ran rampant, that's how. The way to stop the sand." Kazekage Rasa, the fourth generation of eyes, did not hide it, and responded lightly, "Yes." But in the next second, Rasa didn't talk anymore, but looked at the sky. "I saw Gaara at the moment, the whole person is being supported in the air by the platform formed by the intertwined gravel." His complexion changed, and his face showed surprise. "Isn't this Shukaku, but Gaara?" Forbidden. Gaara, who was in the air, didn't talk nonsense at all, but immediately. One-handed printing. Almost in the blink of an eye, the gravel in front of the four shadows, immediately. Suddenly, four large hands made of sand appeared. Among the four, only Tsuchikage, the second generation, had the fastest response. The remaining three people were all caught in the thighs by sand hands. Intraoperative. Looking up at Gaara, Ghost Lantern Wanyu couldn't help sneering. "It's really interesting." "No. A while, the second generation Tsuchikage was not available immediately. Look up. I saw that Onoki didn't know when. He suddenly appeared behind Gaara. When the hands folded together, a dazzling white light began to bloom in the middle position. Long live, Onoki. Second generation Tsuchikage didn't see this, he also immediately. Hands together, he did the same thing as Onoki. Did it take Jinten particle style light? Spoke, the same white light bloomed between his hands. Jinten particle style peeling off the realm. Jinten particle style peeling off the realm. At this moment, the two of them almost spoke in unison. Drink. And the light in the hand is also immediately. Light Jinchuriki column. One is blazing downwards, and the other is facing upwards. Chapter 832. Accomplices. Haha, not bad. Jinten particle style of the second generation Tsuchikage is still so strong. After watching two Jinten particle style rays of light collide, a strong coercion began to erupt. The position of the 6 people in front of him has been swallowed up by the white light. Immediately, the entire flat gravel land has turned into a deep pit. Although the current Gongyi, he did not see these pictures with his own eyes. However, through the tyrannical perception, it can be clearly felt. Should even be said that it is clearer than what I saw with my own eyes. Jinten particle style, the power does not need to be questioned. Developed by the second generation Tsuchikage, which combines the 3 chakra attributes of wind, fire and earth. Even the original Gongyi used to be very jealous of Onokimaster's Jinten particle style. Jinten particle style, it is a ninjutsu that combines attack and enchantment. It is also beyond Kekkei Genkei. The blood follow out is touched by this Jinten particle style, it will be immediately separated into an atomic state, and then the fly ash will be annihilated. But although Jinten particle style sounds really scary, it's down to the level of Gongyi at the moment. He has long since lost his fears about Jinten particle style. If the current Gongyi fights against Onoki, his proud Jinten particle style will be vulnerable to Gongyi. Of course, at this time, let the 4 shadows of all dynasties consume them, while a visit to Onoki is also a good option. At that time, maybe you can start a little easier. After all, there are many people with different eyes, and since Gongyi wants to get rid of Onoki, it is impossible for a large-scale battle to take place. So to put it bluntly, then it is necessary to kill Onoki directly in one hit. Otherwise, if there is a problem with Onoki, it will affect all his plans later. At the same time, the battlefield in front of Gongyi. At this moment, the forces that have been counteracted by Jinten particle style have been severely damaged. Damn, what's going on now? They should have been killed, right? Seeing the power of the grid and Jinten particle style in front of them, all the ninjas kept talking. Even some ninjas have already begun to move around, wanting to move forward. Wait for the signal. Seeing all the ninjas, I couldn't hold it anymore, Tamari immediately. He waved his hand and said. Tamari is also very urgent now, but she knows it. Since the signal has not yet appeared, everything is certainly not so simple. Therefore, it is natural that the ninja allied force is not immediately good time to send out. Because if something goes wrong, Gaara and Onoki's plans are likely to be disrupted. Battlefield. Jinten particle style. Mizukage, the second generation, looked up at the Onoki floating above. Could it be Wu's apprentice, that kid from Onoki? Ah, it's almost like wearing through the air. After thinking about it, the second generation Mizukage ghost lantern couldn't help showing surprise on his face. Father, long time no see. Gaara looked at Luo Hao below, his face was expressionless. Gaara, what about Shukaku? Rasa pressed his hand down, and the sand hand who had just imprisoned the 3 of them immediately broken automatically. Hee, that kind of thing has long been unimportant. A sneer appeared on Gaara's face. Now it can't threaten me at all, and it can be mastered by me. Aikyo Shukaku. Originally Gaara, because of Gong Yi's existence, it was not completely absorbed by Geto Mazo, demonic statue of the outer path. The later stage, through the guidance and help of Gong Yi's side, the power that was only a few taels was kept by Master Gaara. Even now, because of the power of the tailed beast in Gaara's body, he has lost consciousness, and his whole person has been greatly enhanced. Of course, Gaara couldn't help but feel fortunate when it came to this. If I hadn't met Gong Yi, I would have probably died a long time ago. And this fourth ninja war, it is estimated that he is also a member who will be channeled. Now he not only has the power of Master, he has also become Kazekage, and he is also the current captain of the Ninja Alliance. Onoki, who was beside Gaara, said the same with a serious face. Wind, become Kazekage. Rasa's expression changed, and now he doesn't know how to speak. He suddenly discovered that, now that he was resurrected, a lot of things had happened that he didn't understand. The commander-in-chief of the Ninja Alliance. Second generation Tsuchikage didn't show a look of relief, and couldn't help but say, "No wonder, so it is, I was still there before. I wonder why I perceive different types of chakras. I didn't expect the ninjas to form an alliance." Yes, now that we have formed a coalition, it will be easier to handle. Mizukage, the second generation, scratched his head, and now looked at Gaara and Onoki with a smile, "But I think you guys should get rid of this bandage man first. I'm very supportive of you. Your son is a very good ninja." Third generation of Reikage, at this time, ignored the ghost lantern Moon next to him, looked at Rasa next to him and said. However, Rasa at this time did not answer the three generations of Reikage's love now. He seems to be deeply immersed in memories, from the previous picture of Gaara's birth, to the later as an adult Jinchuiki column force and so on. Bang! After a series of sensational scenes, Kazekage Rasa, the fourth generation, has begun to fight with Gaara again. In the air, golden gravel and pieces of gravel collide again. Now the two have started their first fight. Second fight. Give it to me. The war is imminent. At this moment, Onoki did not hesitate at all. He immediately released the signal and start the fourth wing attack in the rear. Rush. Rush. Rear. Tamari at this moment immediately saw the signal. A big wave. All the ninjas who couldn't hold it any longer rushed out with kunwu in their hands. Tens of thousands of ninjas are no joke now. They formed into a film, a black crowd, madly killing the four shadows of the past dynasties. Quickly hand seal with both hands, everyone looked angrily forward and prepared to release ninjutsu. For them now, the enemy who hinders them in front of them is the mortal enemy that will never die. After all, the current Uchiha Madara wants to plot the ninja world, and these people are accomplices. Swish. Three generations of Reikage's body, at this time, can't help but move automatically. He was a little tangled, and rushed towards the tens of thousands of ninja army ahead. Chapter 833. Three generations of Reikage. Two sides has become extremely fierce. The roar of ninjutsu is constantly intertwined with the screams of ninjas. Third generation of Reikage, whose strength is extremely terrifying, when confronted with the ninja coalition, no one can stop it. It looks like it will end. Gong Yi, who is in the dark, had a grim face. In front had already started to be killed and injured countless times, he did not move at all. The entire coalition has fallen into a very passive situation. Four generations of Kazekage Rasa, although held back by Gaara. However, he was also unable to withdraw his hands and go to fight with the help of the coalition forces. And Tsuchikage Onoki, too, is now in a fierce battle with Tsuchikage, the second generation. Therefore, the current second generation Mizukage Ghost Lantern Moon, and the third generation Reikage, they are in a state that no one can compete with. Especially the current third generation Reikage is completely like a no man's land, and the Ninja Alliance has suffered a lot. Quietly in the dark, feeling everything in front of him, Gong Yi did not show the slightest surprise. As for the 4 past dynasties in front of him, he has long been a very comprehensive master. It is like the 3rd generation of Reikijai at this moment. In the 3rd Ninja War, he fought alone against the enemy army of the land of up to 10,000 ninjas in order to let his companions escape. Buying time for his companions to escape, and then insisting on fighting for 3 days and 3 nights, he died of exhaustion. It is such a terrifying fellow, and now he is the body of impure world reincarnation. The tens of thousands of ninja coalition forces ahead are indeed a little helpless against him. Even now, he was killed by 3 generations of Reikijai and was a little terrified. In Gong Yi's impression, if the development is based on the original work, it should be the 3 generations of Reikijai, although he told the Ninja Coalition his weaknesses. But the Ninja Coalition is still helpless in the face of its powerful strength. Later, Naruto's shadow clone arrived at the scene and joined the fight, but the body of the 3rd generation Reikijai was so strong that even Futon, Wind-style Rasenshuriken couldn't defeat it. Later, Naruto saw the scar on his chest, and after asking Killer Bee and Yahweh, he used Rasengan to attack Reikige's wrist, causing Reikige to be hit by his own hand attack. Its strongest shield was also broken. After such a battle, the Ninja Alliance successfully sealed Reikige. However, under the current situation, Naruto will not join at all, so the 4th coalition on Gaara's side is a bit embarrassing. The 3rd generation of Reikijai was the real body, and even fought with 10,000 ninjas for 3 days and 3 nights. Now this will be Kung Fu, although the reason of impure world reincarnation makes the 3rd generation Reikijai unable to exert 100% of the power. However, because of the characteristics of impure world reincarnation, they can't stop the 3 generations of Reikijai now. But in the final case, he will actually be resurrected. This makes the ninjas of the entire alliance have the loud bang bang bang, now spread all around. The village is up to you, Gaara. To be atonement came. Sighed. Gaara stood in the air with a complicated look on her face. Front of him, the 4 generations of Kazekage Rasa have been completely sealed. With gold dust all collapsed immediately below. After a series of battles, Gaara now has his hands free. However, Onoki on the side, because of his old age, can't completely contain the 2nd generation Tsuchikage of Reikijai in front, and the 2nd generation of Mizukage Ghost Lantern Moon, are also constantly slaughtering the ninja coalition. Plot because of Gong Yi's change, at this time, irreversible consequences have begun to appear. If this continues, the 4th unit led by Gaara will completely collapse and disintegrate. The savior of the entire ninja world and the allied ninja army, Naruto is still sitting in Konoha village quietly waiting for Gong Yi's orders. And a little anxious at the moment, he did not leave in a hurry. Gong Yi has educated Naruto very well, and now there are no rebellious departures that disturb Gong Yi. Look around. Konoha village at the moment, there are tens of thousands of ninjas, all of them looking serious and ready to go. Each of them has a good chakra on their bodies, and their faces are even more determined. The current Sasuke, who is also in it, and those who have not been taken away by Gong Yi, are all waiting. Although they don't know what they are going to do next. However, a group of ninjas, to Gong Yi's orders, are also completely unconditional obedience. Of course, with so much ninja power left here, Gong Yi naturally couldn't rest assured. At this moment, in front of Konoha village, Gong Yi's other Mokuden, wood-style clone is sitting here with his eyes closed and his knees crossed. The entire ninja continent, basically Gong Yi's Mokuden, wood-style clone, has been arranged by him in various positions. In fact, it is not difficult to see that now Gong Yi's Mokuden, wood-style avatar has replaced Naruto's avatar. Along the coast of the Kingdom of Thunder, in the mountain cemetery, the 1st wing, the 2nd wing, the 3rd wing, and even the 5th wing. Now they are being cloned by Gong Yi's Mokuden, wood-style quietly watching. A plan that has calculated the entire ninja continent. Gong Yi can't really sit safely in the rear headquarters to command. The power of Uchiha Obito, although it can't pose any threat to himself. However, his existence is also a very unstable factor. At the same time, because of his own existence, the plot has undergone a very serious deviation. Therefore, now that this is a kung fu, Gongyi cannot act 100% in accordance with the original work. Ah, help me. Bastard, we can't kill him at all. Quick, let's get out of here now, we can't continue like this. Gaara Fourth Wing. At this moment the whole desert is full of corpses. The air all around seemed to be able to smell blood. I saw that there were only less than half of the tens of thousands of ninja units left at the moment. This is just less than half a fight, and the Ninja United has suffered heavy losses. All Wumura ninjas have long lost their confident momentum. At this moment, with kunai in their hands, they all trembled, and their faces changed drastically. Front, now the second generation Tsuchikage no, the third generation Reikage Eye, and the second generation Mizukage Ghost Lantern, the three faces are cold. Although with their consciousness, they do not want to do anything to their descendants. But unfortunately, they don't have any qualifications to go to Master's own destiny at all now. Philo reminds you, 3 things to read, collect, push and watch the latest chapter and LT. Collection. Please keep this paragraph, otherwise you will be banned from collecting IP. Chapter 834. An unimaginable crisis. First. It seems that these juniors, there will be danger. Second generation Mizukage Ghost Lanyu looked forward, and the whole person couldn't help but tease. From the beginning, his face was not too serious. Contrary, it will still draw a smile. Damn, if it goes on like this, they're all going to die here. Third generation of eyes, Reikage, Bit Kiba, and the whole person seemed to be a little unbearable. After all, there are quite a few ninjas from Kumogakure village ahead. Now that he is controlled by his body and kills these juniors, Reikage Eye, the third generation, is already very unhappy. Someone has already been killed. Second generation Tsuchikage was absent, and his peripheral vision swept to the side. The fourth generation of Kazekage Rasa just now, he is completely gone. It's here again, you all hurry up and get out of here. At this time, no waiting, the third generation Reikage Eye spoke again, and his whole body began to burst out with lightning. The thunder and lightning were crackling and beating, they were insanely insane. Raiden Thunder Style Chakra Mode. This is the Raiden Thunder Style armor of 3 generations of Reikage. Kazekage tells everyone to get out of here. Seeing the 3 generations of Reikage in front of the whole body of lightning, Onoki hears also immediately. His face changed and he shouted. Raiden Thunder Style armor. Gaara's face froze, and the whole person didn't understand at all. He is naturally less knowledgeable than Onoki about the ninjutsu of the past generations. After all, Onoki has lived for half his life, and he has done research on these shadows of the past. That is a secret technique that activates the body by concentrating Raiden Thunder Style chakra on the whole body, so that the whole body is covered with chakra and lightning. Onoki frowned and said in a simplified manner, this ability can greatly improve the defense ability, and at the same time, the lightning that bursts in the body can also increase the conduction speed of the nerves. In other words, the current 3 generation Reikage is even more scary. Onoki said, the whole person is also immediately. The same goes back. The 3 shadows of the past remaining in front of him now make Onoki feel a lot of pressure. And here in Gaara, the same is true, it is not easy now. In the moment when the 2 of them lost their minds, Gaara's order has not been issued. 3 generations of Reikage Eye bear the brunt, immediately. Turned into a flash of blue lightning. With a bang, immediately. Smashed into the ninja team behind the 2. Immediately, there were miserable shouts. As cage-level ninjas, neither of them could react at the speed, especially the group of ninjas behind. They only felt a momentary connection, followed by an instant. Died and was directly killed by 3 generations of Reikage. That was full of confidence before, is now complete. Just a 3-generation rakeage, they couldn't compete. Now the 5th unit, why hasn't it arrived yet? The disheartened Tamari dashed to Ara's place. Now, seeing the ninjas of the coalition forces in the rear, they are about to be completely killed. But the 5th regiment, which was promised to come to support, has not arrived yet. It looks like I can't count on Mifune anymore. Onoki frowned, his face getting more and more gloomy. It is very likely that they have already encountered enemy troops on the way here. The analysis is very clear now. The 5 alliances, now in a fan-shaped manner, are all advancing towards Akatsuki's lair. And the reason for this is to support each other quickly. After calculating the time, according to common sense, the 5th regiment should have arrived long ago. But now that they have reached this juncture, they have not arrived here yet. Then it means that it is very likely that they have been blocked now. Immediately. Inform all ninjas to retreat back. Here, no wait, Gaara spoke, and Onoki said immediately with a big wave of his hand. Now he knows that it is very difficult to completely solve the 3 previous generations in front of him. Therefore, if the consumption continues like this, all the ninjas of the 4th alliance will be killed. Not now. Hearing this, Gaara's face changed color, he immediately. No, under today's circumstances, Gong Yi's order was to weaken the ninja power of the enemy village as much as possible. Therefore, for Gaara now, the 3 shadows of the past dynasties is the best place. If you retreat and leave now, it will not be as effective as the current one. If you don't leave now, do you have to wait for everyone to die before leaving? Onoki looked at Gaara, the whole person was a little incomprehensible. Now that we are leaving here, can the 3 shadows of the past dynasties in front of us let us go? Gaara glanced at Onoki and continued, especially in the current situation, if we leave here, the rest of the wing may also be attacked by the 3 shadows of the past, so why don't we think of a way to get rid of them now? It's true. Damn. Hearing Gaara finish speaking, the current Onoki is also speechless. This scene, now seen in Gong Yi's eyes, is also very funny. For him, Onoki's behavior was indeed embarrassing. Especially on Gaara's side, when he said something righteous, Onoki really couldn't refute it. Even Tamari next to Gaara, and the rest of the high-ranking ninjas, were the same. Yes, if they left now, then if the 3 shadows of the past chasing after each other, it would be of no use. And because if you retreat and leave, it is very likely to cause death faster, and the probability of the whole army to be destroyed is greater. Especially, for other coalition forces, if because of their departure, if the 3 shadows of the past dynasties suddenly attack the rest of the coalition from the side or the rear. Then it is an unimaginable consequence. Now the whole war, it is not that they are fighting on a single line. Every line is very important. At this moment, they are all ants tied to a line. There is a problem there, it will affect everyone. At this moment, Onoki is also riding a tiger, and I feel a little bit at a loss as to what to do. The 2nd generation Tsuchikage in front of him is he is very difficult to deal with at the moment, and with Onoki, he can only contend. After all, he is already old, and now Onoki can't really fight like Gaara. As for the 3rd generation Raikage, and the 2nd generation Mizukage, they are also more difficult to deal with. The entire 4th Army coalition is now in an unheard of crisis. It looks like it's almost the same. Gong Yi, who was behind him, felt it quietly. The entire 4th Army coalition, from the previous tens of thousands to the present, has dropped sharply to the point where it is about to drop to thousands. Please download Fei Lu Shao Kan's latest chapter Baidu Search 99 Play Companion to find 99 novels and LT. Chapter 835. The Target to Kill. Gong Yi, who was behind him, had already made up his mind. When Gaara's 4th Unit Coalition forces, when there are thousands of people remaining, will take action. After all, although he wants to weaken the ninja power of the enemy village, Gong Yi is still useful here in Gaara. At present, Without Naruto here, with Gaara and Onoki alone, it is estimated that it is difficult to win. Especially Gong Yi saw Gaara, and now he seems unwilling to leave because of his plan. Therefore, Gong Yi is now ready to wait until the last moment to seal off the three shadows of the past. Anyway, their role is enough, almost destroying the fourth wing, completely meeting Gong Yi's expectations. Boom, boom, a loud bang spread all over the place. While Gong Yi is still thinking here, the three generations of Reikage have already rushed in and out. The second generation in front, Mizukage, and Tsuchikage, the second generation, were stopped by Gaara and Onoki. However, under the current situation, it is still impossible to reduce the pressure on the ninjas in the rear. Reikage, the third generation who will never get tired, completely ignores everything with his impure world reincarnation body. Although it was touched by ninjas, it will still recover in an instant. All the ninjas of the 4th Coalition Army can't help but want to curse. The current 3-generation Reikage is completely all restrained. Speed is extremely fast and the strength is extremely strong. Just relying on rough physical skills, they can kill them to pieces. Especially with such a strange figure, it is difficult for every ninja to resist. Before I knew it, I was now in front of my eyes, and when I looked around, there were all the corpses of ninjas. The thick blood in the air made everyone feel hopeless. Everyone's eyes were bloodshot, and the whole face was a kind of dead pale. Facing the 3 generations of Reikage, for them, it is like facing the god of death. Not long. The ninjutsu behind him gradually disappeared. Everything seems to have begun to gradually return to calm without knowing it. The tens of thousands of the 4th Coalition Army have been completely killed by the 3 generations of Reikage. In the end, there were really only 3 or 4,000 famous ninjas who kept going backwards here. Each of them, now they have really been gutted by the 3 generations of Reikage. At the same time, now that it will be Kung Fu, they also really know one thing. With the current them, it is impossible to effectively remove the 3 generations of Reikage. Therefore, they no longer rushed over stupidly, but chose to deal with it. But the speed of the 3 generations of Reikage is still too fast, and they simply know that they and others can't hold on for too long. Bastard, just here, are we going to be completely damaged? Onoki swept his eyes to the rear when he was not fighting the 2nd generation Tsuchikage. So far has made him miserable. Exactly the same as everything he thought before. Problem for the 5-village alliance to deal with a mere Akatsuki. But at this moment, Onoki had to start to wonder if what he had thought before was too simple. If the situation develops like this, it is very likely that his revenge will not be avenged, but the entire ninja continent will be in crisis. Looking there, don't be distracted. At this time, the voice of the 2nd generation Tsuchikage came. Blink of an eye, Onoki quickly regained his senses, biting Kiba and releasing the ninjutsu again. The entire battlefield, the situation is gradually clear at this moment. Gaara's side is also losing ground, leaving behind. At present, it is difficult for them to successfully resist until they find an effective way to restrain impure world reincarnation. Although Gaara has destroyed a ghost lantern moon, it is of no use at all. Because he will be turned into confetti, and then slowly pieced together again, and then resurrected. It looks like I really need to leave now. Gaara's complexion gradually turned gloomy, staring at the ghostly lantern moon in front of her. The ninjas in the rear have been killed by 3 generations of Reikage, and they have already been killed. Basically Gong Yi's plan, he has almost completed it. If it keeps dragging like this, then it is very likely that he will also have a crisis here. 5 generations of Kazekage, watch your profile. At this time, a loud shout came. Gaara quickly came back to her senses, and saw that the 3rd generation of Reikage did not know when, but had already come here. Just now, the 3rd generation of Reikage, his voice reminds, gathered beside Gaara. Speed was extremely fast, and when the 3rd generation Reikage was still 100 meters away from They are like a big wall, linking Gaara with the 3 generations of Reikage at once. Isolated. Boom. But next second, Gaara hasn't let go of his heart yet, and the entire Sand Escape's defenses instantly cracked. Starting from the center, it begins to spread around like a spider web. Finally, the entire high wall of sturdy gravel began to collapse in an instant. Obviously it can't stop this punch from the 3rd generation Reikage. Quote. Immediately. Step back. Gaara looked indifferent and didn't speak again. This will be kung fu, and his whole person will be immediately leave in the other direction. But on the other side, the 2nd generation Mizukage ghost Genyuki, who has been fully resurrected, didn't want to let Gaara go. A sweetened water-style ninjutsu was released at this moment, and it also shot towards Gaara. 2 sides, flanking, 2 shadows of past dynasties, Gaara is now the target of death. All of a sudden. When Gaara's side was already in deep crisis, a terrifying chakra pressure suddenly appeared in front of him. Still in, the 2nd generation Mizukage Ghost Lantern Moon, and the 3rd generation Reikage Eye, they all stopped. And still there, Tsuchikage, the 2nd generation entangled with Onoki, and he too. The entire chaotic battlefield, because of this terrifying chakra that suddenly appeared. In an instant, it has begun to become a lot quieter. I saw behind the 2nd generation of Mizukage Ghost Lanyu, a large earthy hand suddenly rose from the ground and slapped him fiercely. The huge palm pattern is clearly visible, it covers the sky and the sun, like the palm of a giant, making people feel terrifying. This is Gaara. Onoki, and Tamari and other high-level officials saw this ninjutsu, and their faces were all immediately discoloration. It was a kind of excitement, more of a look that seemed to relax a lot. Chapter 836. Arrogant Junior. All of them are unable to recognize this ninjutsu that covers the sky and the sun. Even Onoki, he was also included. The signature ninjutsu of the 5th generation Hokage Gongyi. They know that now the current general of the coalition has come here. It is because of this that their expressions became a lot lighter. After all, it can suppress the tailed beast, and it is Hokage who is almost invincible in the ninja continent. His arrival undoubtedly gave everyone a reassurance. And I have seen the huge palm above my head. The 2nd generation Mizukage Ghost Lantern Moon is still there, showing hesitation. Obviously, the huge palm above, its speed is too fast. By the time it was discovered, it was just photographed. There was a loud bang, and pieces of gravel were splashed around, and the entire dune was wiped out in an instant. And the bird looked down, and now a huge deep pit of handprints has been carved in the desert above. The 2nd generation Mizukage Ghost Lantern just now, his whole person was instantly wiped out. Countless confetti flew in the air, and the 2nd generation Mizukage Ghost Moon, who had just been destroyed by the power of a palm, was resurrected again. What's the matter? 2nd generation of Mizukage, the Ghost Lantern, showed surprise on his face. He had never seen the ninjutsu just now. It seems that there is an incredible guy on the ninja world continent. Reikage Eye who stopped, he couldn't help showing a smile on his face. I really didn't expect that in this era, there will be people who can rival that guy. 2nd generation Tsuchikage turned his head sideways and looked forward. In his mind at this moment, a picture of someone could not help but emerge. A while, when everyone looked in that direction. On the far horizon, a man stepped out. He was tall and straight, handsome. On top of the perfect face, the contours are clear and the expression is indifferent. The man's eyes are deep, as if there is endless starlight inside, and he can even suck people into it. The 5th generation of Hokage Gongyi of Konoha village. In this era, the man who can suppress the entire ninja continent. Yes, now Onoki and others will admit mistakes. Great, Konoha's Hokage is here. We seem to be saved. Quote. At this time, there were only a few people left in the back, and he sighed in relief. Now the coalition members of the entire 4th unit, whether they are ninjas, ninjas from Iwagakure village, or ninjas from Sunagakure village. So far, when they saw Gong Yi come out, there was a feeling of rejoicing on their faces. At the beginning, they were very afraid of the devil, and everyone didn't want to see him. But today, after seeing the appearance of Gong Yi, they actually felt so much anticipation. They even said that they felt that this man could suppress the ninja continent and threaten ultimate for them. This time, everyone doesn't feel that way anymore, because they totally regard Gong Yi as their savior at the moment. Under the threat of death, Gong Yi's sudden appearance gives them all hope. This is the ninja of that ninja village. Second generation Tsuchikage stared at Gong Yi, who was walking, with thoughts on his face. This power is completely different from other ninjas. The same is true for the third generation of Reikage, and some can't help but sigh. Bastard, how did I get killed just now? Second generation of Mizukage, Ghost Lantern, squinted his eyes, and also stared at Gong Yi. Such a sense of oppression, this seems to be a steady stream of chakras. It can be said that the 3 shadows of the past dynasties have never been encountered. They couldn't imagine in their hearts that such a ninja would appear in this era. The 3 shadows of the past, who were famous in the ninja world at the time, are now being manipulated to slaughter their descendants. It really makes people feel sad. In front of the 3 people, Gong Yi's face did not change at all. He twitched the corners of his mouth and smiled, just like this, calmly looking at the 3 past dynasties. It was as if the 3 men who had just killed 5, the ninjas of the past, couldn't pose any threat to him at all. I really never thought that a strong man like you would appear in the ninja world. Hearing Gong Yi's sarcasm, the third generation of Reikage did not show dissatisfaction, but said with a little relief. I really didn't expect that after I die, there will be a guy who can rival the original god of the ninja world. Second generation Tsuchikage Wu also recovered from his memory and gave Gong Yi a very high evaluation. It's just that ninjutsu just now, even before he died, it would be difficult to deal with it quickly. Therefore, it can be seen that the ninja in front of him is indeed very powerful. Looking at Onoki and the others from the corner of his eye, the second generation Tsuchikage can guess everything. This sudden appearance of ninja is not as simple as he imagined. Comparable to the god of ninja world. When Gong Yi heard that the second generation Tsuchikage had not finished speaking, he smiled and shrugged and replied, I think the second generation Tsuchikage has misunderstood something. Seeing Gong Yi's smile, the second generation Tsuchikage was stunned. Now, I can no longer be called the god of the ninja world, Fumi. Shrugging, Gong Yi said and spread out his hands. Instead, I'm about to surpass. Oh, what an arrogant junior. As soon as Gong Yi finished speaking, the second generation Mizukage Ghost Lanyu, who had not spoken for a long time, said involuntarily. Okay, let's send you back, senior, and then talk about it. Hearing the second generation Mizukage Ghost Lantern Moon finish speaking, Gong Yi's face became even more smiling, and he didn't have any mood swings at all. That's exactly what I wanted. Generation Mizukage Ghost Lantern Yanyu's expression froze, and then he continued to laugh. I hope you are not as weak as them. Sweetened water style, water cannon empty training. At this time, the second generation of Mizukage Ghost Lantern Moon his body, immediately. Instinctively unleashed the attack. Finger pointed forward, and the chakra suddenly condensed. With a sound of breaking through the air, a water bomb was shot out immediately. Its speed is extremely fast, and people are completely caught off guard. As you can imagine, if you are hit by it now, it is very difficult to survive. However, although the power of this ninjutsu is very powerful, Gong Yi was not surprised at all, but still stood there sneering. In fact, it will be a kung fu, and now Gong Yi can use impure world reincarnation to reverse channel them back. But now Gong Yi, he didn't do that. Because in his eyes, this kind of thing means nothing. Taking advantage of this opportunity today, I can just try it out. What is it like to fight with the shadows of the past dynasties? To see the underlined version of the novel, Baidu search 99 Playmate find 99 Novel Network. Chapter 837. Glazed Sky. When my thoughts came to this point, the water cannons that had just been released by the second-generation Mizukage had already arrived before me. Gong Yi, who had been inactive for a while, immediately waving his hand, a colorful glass-like water curtain immediately appeared in front of him. At this moment, Gong Yi no longer wants to go to hand seal to release ninjutsu. All ninjutsu releases can be accomplished with just the mind. Bang! As soon as the glazed canopy appeared, the second-generation Mizukage's water cannon bombing attack had already arrived. A muffled sound appeared, and the entire incomparably fierce water cannon attacked, and immediately after it touched the glazed sky. Broken and disintegrated, it didn't have any effect at all, not even the scene where the glazed sky was cracked. Hiss! Can't help but suck in the air. Although they knew that Gong Yi's strength was tyrannical, they didn't even think of it. Even in the face of the strongest shadow of all times, Gong Yi can still deal with it so calmly. You must know that the three shadows of the past dynasties just now killed their entire team. However, at this time, Gong Yi is so easy to deal with the murderous attack of the second-generation Mizukage. No wonder so insolent. It turns out that there is still something. Second-generation Mizukage easily resisted his own attack when he saw Gong Yi Muji unleashing ninjutsu. His face was condensed, and he couldn't help but praise. Looks like this time, we can go back. Brush. At this time, the third generation of Reikage here has just finished speaking, and he also rushed out in an instant. Whole body was still intertwined with thunder and lightning, and he punched Gong Yi in front of him. The crackling sound continued, and the violent thunder and lightning beat endlessly. Third generation of Reikage is like a cannonball, and in the blink of an eye, it has come to Gong Yi. Punch out. There was a loud bang, and it spread all around again. The shock wave generated by the collision of the two pushed all the gravel below to the sides. A half-sized pit appeared at the foot of the third generation Reikage. The fists of the three generations of Reikage in front of him were still unable to shake Gong Yi's glazed sky. Colorful glass on it is still gorgeous, and there is not even the slightest bit of damage. Although it has just resisted a second-generation Mizukage's attack, the current third-generation Reikage's attack here is still unable to destroy it. How is it possible? Seeing such a scene, the face of the three generations of Reikage changed dramatically. Now although he said so, I hope someone can immediately. The seal wipes them out. However, when I saw such a scene appearing, I was completely shocked. My own punch didn't have any effect at all. It looked like a very weak defense, but it was unexpectedly strong. No, it should be said that they can't imagine being strong. Because in such a situation, it can be shaken at all. Doden Earth style aggravates rock fisting. With a violent drink, before the third generation Reikage reacts, the second generation Tsuchikage in his rear has arrived. His previously thin arms had turned into incomparably stout stony appearances. At this moment, it immediately penetrated the body of the third generation of Reikage and bombarded the glass sky. With the fragmented body of the third generation Reikage, the face of the second generation Tsuchikage was also extremely horrified. It's nothing at all. It's like a bit of a ghost. 3 cage levels of my own attacked in turn, but there was no way to deal with a seemingly weak defense. It's so strong. Onoki was behind him, his face also discolored. He couldn't help being even more afraid, and said quietly, "Have you been underestimating him before?" Although Konoha village has been developing, it seems that he has not left to practice at all, and now he is even stronger. At this time, the current Onoki gradually discovered. My previous thoughts seemed a bit naive. Although Konoha village has grown to a prosperous level, Gong Yi has not given up his practice at all. He really became stronger. Are the three finished? At the same time, Gong Yi who was standing in front, had a smile on his face, still as indifferent. Seeing the three shadows of the past, all of them have come over and over again, Gong Yi shrugged and said solemnly, "Then it's my turn." Jin Dun sword formation. Om. Just as Gong Yi's words fell, a golden light shone out in front of him. What kind of ninjutsu is this? Second generation of Mizukage and the second generation of Tsuchikage, their faces are full of surprise. In the era of Gong Yi's rise, they have been dead for a long time. Now, after seeing Jin Dun, all of them have already shown a dazed look. Cut. Instant, when the golden light in front had bloomed to the ultimate, Gong Yi pointed towards the front. Now Gong Yi hasn't shot for a long time, and he feels rusted all over. Exactly, before facing the next Uchiha Madara, and Otsutsuki Kagaya. Of the past to practice your hands first to warm up. Kang. A voice appeared, and the golden light in front dissipated in an instant. And in front of the two shadows of the past, now ye see, a great sword made of golden rays of light, has appeared. Above the huge sword body, there are waves of powerful power fluctuations. The sharp blade of the whole body is wrapped in golden light. Feel terrified just by looking at it at the moment. Second generation Tsuchikage and the second generation Mizukage, after seeing this golden ninja, their faces showed a kind of horror. They couldn't imagine how someone could have such a powerful ninjutsu now. What kind of power is this? Second generation Tsuchikage has no pupil constriction, and the whole person can't help but feel grim. Is this guy a Kekkei Genkei created by himself? The whole body, the second generation Mizukage Ghost Genyuki, who was automatically moving towards the rear, was also difficult for him to understand. At the same time, almost half a second, the third generation Reikage who had just been smashed by the second generation Tsuchikage, his entire body was reassembled. Yes. Just opened his eyes. The three generations of Reikage at this moment are the same as the other two figures, all expressions show a sense of shock. Second generation of Tsuchikage is the same as the second generation of Mizukage, and they have never seen it before. But these three generations of Reikage, he is the same. Especially now that he had just regained consciousness and saw the great sword in front of Gong Yi, it was even more shocking. This guy, is he a monster? Back to his senses, the third generation of Reikage could not help but blurt out. Shoo! Next second. There was a sharp sound of breaking the sky. Gong Yi still lies in the golden sword in front of their nonsense, immediately. End coming. Philo reminds you. 3 things to read and collect. Push the latest chapter. Baidu search 99 playmates find 99 novels. Chapter 838. Fatal Strike. The golden giant sword came with the sound of howling wind. At this moment, with an unstoppable momentum, it moved towards the 3 shadows of the past. Doden, Earth-style wall. The second generation of Tsuchikage is not immediately available. Hand seal with both hands and press down. There was a rumbling sound, and in front of the 3 people 3 immediately appeared. The towering Doden, Earth-style wall. Although it is just a very ordinary defensive ninjutsu, it is not so in the hands of the second generation Tsuchikage Mu. At this moment, the Doden Earth-style wall is extremely thick, as if all ninjutsu cannot penetrate its defense. In the next second, before the 3 shadows of the past could react, Gong Yi's golden giant sword in front of him had already slashed. With a bang, just looking at the extremely solid Doden Earth-style wall, it immediately collapsed and disintegrated. Even for a second, it couldn't stop it, it was just destroyed in an instant. The golden escape giant sword is now slashing on top of it, as if it is thin paper, and it is not wasteful at all. Yes. Disintegration of his Earth-style wall in front of him, the second generation Tsuchikage's expression completely revealed that he had seen a ghost. Although the 3 generations of shadows present, very much hope that their juniors can defeat them. But now Gong Yi's behavior makes them feel completely horrified. Because they found themselves waiting for others, they completely underestimated the ninja in front of them. Although he was young, he looked harmless to humans and animals. However, his strength is completely beyond the imagination of the three people. Om! The sound of the sword cry came to the ear, and the three shadows of the past dynasties at this moment did not have time to speak again. The golden giant sword in front of them had already arrived in front of them. The golden light filled the surroundings, and the three shadows of the past dynasties could not see everything in front of them. Whoa! The second generation Tsuchikage Wu, the third generation Reikage Eye, the second generation Mizukage Ghost Lantern Moon, the body of the three people is completely shattered once again. The violent momentum of the golden escape sword makes them unable to have any resistance at all. Everything happened in a flash, and they and Gong Yi only had contact for 2 rounds. Hokage, just relying on ninjutsu, can't get rid of them effectively. At this time, seeing the bodies of the three shadows of the past, they have gradually begun to gather again. Onoki came to Gong Yi's side and said with a frown on his face. Well, it seems that the only way to use the seal is. Gong Yi nodded and pretended to be. He is naturally very aware of the characteristics of impure world reincarnation now. On the contrary, Gong Yi now should know more about impure world reincarnation than Orochimaru and the other two. In the original book, the way the entire ninja coalition dealt with the impure world reincarnation ninjas was using the seal. And now Onoki and other survivors of the coalition ninja, they are here. Then Gong Yi naturally couldn't use ninjutsu to send them back to the reverse channel. Acting is about to perform a full set, and now is not the time to tear one's face off. It seems so. At this time, Onoki, who was beside Gong Yi, nodded in agreement and said, Hokage, your approach may be the most correct. As for, at present this is a kung fu, and now Onoki's face also shows a clear understanding. He knew what Gong Yi was thinking, but he was still thinking about the seal. But soon, Onoki also looked back with a gloomy face, but now the coalition ninjas here have suffered serious losses, and the seal squad has all been killed and injured. If they are dispatched from the rear now, I guess it is difficult to consume it. Hehe, Tsuchikage, have you forgotten? Hearing Onoki finish speaking, Gong Yi turned his head, looking at Onoki and smiled. I'm very good at sealing now. Nothing was hidden. He is good at sealing, and it is already known to everyone in the ninja world. At the same time, Gong Yi also has nothing to hide from a dead person. Anyway, now Onoki, in Gong Yi's eyes, is totally a dying person. Although so far, I have not been able to do it myself, but Gong Yi has completely figured out the ending of Onoki. Now his whole body, in fact, the chakra fluctuations have been very disordered and weakened. Must have been fighting the second generation Tsuchikage before, which consumed a lot of his energy. I have to say, Onoki is old now. Although in the ninja continent, the third generation Tsuchikagenoki is said to be powerful and enjoys the Tsuchikage Onoki of the 2 days. S name. And Grandmaster Doden, Earth-style ninjutsu, also mastered this surpassed Kekkei Jinkei blood following Jinten, particle style. Pity that no matter how powerful the power is now, it can't resist the invasion of the years. Now Onoki, he has already stepped into the coffin with half a foot, and his strength has been greatly reduced. Don't say it was Gong Yi, but if there are a few young cage-level ninjas who really want to get rid of Onoki. If some kind of procrastination tactic is used all the time, Onoki will not have good fruit to eat. Therefore, Gong Yi doesn't have the slightest worry about Onoki beside him. When you get a chance later, you can completely remove it yourself. The old man is really confused. Here, Onoki, who didn't know what Gong Yi was thinking, patted his head. With an excited look on his face now, he couldn't help saying. Right. Now Gong Yi's sealing skills are quite high. Therefore, with Gong Yi here, with his terrifying power, it is not a problem to seal the 3 of them. Thinking of this, Onoki's gloomy face seemed to be able to recover a lot gradually. All the difficulties seem to have begun to be solved without knowing it. Onoki can foresee that the three shadows in the following dynasties are very strong. But through the fight just now, while he was shocked, he also had guesses in his heart. With the current three of them, it seems that they can't compete with the fifth generation of Hokage at all. That is to say, with such an idea, Onoki's previously suspended heart gradually calmed down. If the three shadows of the past dynasties are not removed here, then if they are allowed to run to the rear of the rest of the coalition forces, consequences would be unimaginable. He and Gaara were just 2 cage-level ninjas here, and they almost slaughtered the entire team. Then if there is no cage-level ninja, it will be a fatal blow to the entire team. The abilities of the shadows of the past generations are still too strange, making the general new generation of ninjas completely unable to resist. That is to say, some such things have been thought of, so now if Gong Yi can seal it all, Onoki will be able to breathe a sigh of relief. At least the rest of the ninja coalition will not be too passive. Chapter 839. The Psychic Mirage. Not long. Onoki was still there. While Gong Yi was thinking, the bodies of the 3 previous shadows in front were reassembled. The sheets of confetti kept sticking together, and when the last piece had already stuck to their faces, they all reopened their eyes. I didn't expect such a terrifying ninja to appear after my death. After regaining consciousness, the second generation Tsuchikage did not reveal a rare heaviness. At present, the ninjas of the 5 major ninja villages have joined forces, and it is a good thing to have such a powerful ninja. But, if it were a time of peace now, a ninja with great power. For the rest of the ninja village, he is very scary enough. I really want to have a good fight. Third generation of Reikage also showed a high fighting spirit on his face. However, he looked down at his hands, and immediately became a little helpless. Unfortunately, this body can't obey my consciousness at all. You are still sighing here. Generation Mizukage Ghost Lantern Huanyu couldn't help but spit out. I've been killed several times now, which is really embarrassing. Everyone, please go back and talk again now. At this time, Gong Yi's voice came, interrupting the conversation between the 3 of them. At this moment, after Onoki finished speaking, Gong Yi was also ready to seal them up. Basically, from the perspective of these 2 fights, their strength has long been inferior to that of the past. Now the restrictions of impure world reincarnation make them very weak. If it weren't for the impure world reincarnation, this is particularly undead. Before, they were estimated to have been submerged by the ninja coalition using crowd tactics. Well, that is to say, I feel a little weak, and at this moment Gong Yi doesn't want to entangle with them anymore. Doden, Earth style. The next second, Gong Yi is no longer talking nonsense. Immediately, a new attack was launched. The huge palm appeared again, it rose up behind Gong Yi, and slapped the 3 people in front of him. Sealing them is indeed a way to restrain the characteristics of impure world reincarnation. Before that, however, there is a premise. That is to imprison them. Otherwise, if they are constantly moving, there is no way. Therefore, Gong Yi decided to erase them once again, and take the opportunity of their resurrection to seal them directly. The Psychic Mirage. The second generation of Mizukage Ghost Lantern Moon, he immediately hand seal with both hands and take the next shot. A huge mirage was summoned immediately. Having suffered once before, the second generation Mizukage Ghost Lantern Huanyu has obviously been prepared. The second generation Tsuchikage behind him, he also hid himself and disappeared immediately. Followed, the third generation Reikage Aidung released thunder and lightning, and the extremely fast ones also avoided the rear. Magical Mirage. With a loud shout, the mirage at the foot of the second generation Mizukage Ghost, it has begun to create demonic illusion. Hey, I advise you to leave here quickly. Second generation Mizukage Ghost Lantern, he couldn't help looking at Gong Yi and Onoki. Although it was killed by Gong Yi before several times, but now he doesn't want to see Gong Yi and others die. After all, for Ghost Lantern Moon, he was being manipulated like this, which made him very unhappy. He really didn't want others to use him to achieve a certain purpose. This is the ability to make a mirage create a mirage in conjunction with yin escape, so that the enemy falls into demonic illusion. Hearing the second-generation Mizukage Ghost Lantern and Huan Yu shouting there, Gong Yi was completely indifferent. At this moment, he said quietly, "The attack is ineffective, and you can use the mirage made by the mirage to hide yourself and the mirage." Not bad. Gong Yi nodded with a smile on his face. In the original book, it should be this ninjutsu, and at the same time, Kazekage Gaara and Tsuchikajinoki were recruited. It's a massive demonic illusion that's basically hard to defend against. Of the mirage behind the ghost light and the moon to crack, but the mirage has a hard shell, so it needs a strong ninja tool or strength. Otherwise, the power of this second-generation Mizukage Ghost Lantern Moon is really incomprehensible. I didn't expect you to know this way. Onoki and Ghost Lantern Moon, almost in unison. Especially now, Ghost Lantern Wanyu, he is the most terrifying. I didn't expect that a ninja from the outer village could actually understand me like this. Ghost Lantern Moon has a ghostly expression. Isn't Kurigakure village has a secrecy system, how could it be leaked? Completely clueless, Ghost Lantern Wanyu doubted life. Besides, I've been dead for so long. Quote. And Onoki next to Gong Yi, he is the same now. Having lived for so long and being a disciple of the second-generation Tsuchikage at the same time, only then did I know something about the second-generation Mizukage. However, what Gong Yi said just now, in fact, even he himself did not understand. However, now that he is being treated like this by a new generation of ninjas, he can actually know clearly. Now Gong Yi has become more and more mysterious in Onoki's eyes. At least he found that he couldn't see through Gong Yi at all. Boom! At this moment, while Onoki was still here, just as he was thinking, a loud noise came. I saw the three shadows of the past dynasties in front of them, all of which have disappeared, only the smoke and dust that just fell from Gong Yi's heaven-shattering palm. Countless grains of sand sputtered around, like a tsunami of gravel. Another huge five-fingered pit appeared in front of everyone's eyes. The ninjas of the 5 villages' allied forces who have already left the battlefield, they saw everything in front of them without gasping for air. And Onoki and Gaara have begun to re-understand the power of Gong Yi. Forget it, let's come one by one. Gong Yi saw that the 3 shadows of the past dynasties had been separated. He glanced around and said lightly. Although the second-generation Tsuchikage has used the secret technique to sneak in and hide, but it has no effect at all. Because Gong Yi possesses the seed of divine consciousness, his perception is extremely tyrannical. Demonic illusion of the second-generation Mizukage Ghost Lantern Moon, the same is true. In front of the seeds of divine consciousness, their secret techniques are completely vulnerable. They are completely useless techniques that have no effect at all. Of course, they don't know it now, and they're still wishful thinking trying to kill Gong Yi. Then come to you first. Glancing around, Gong Yi's eyes were locked. Next second, his whole body immediately rushed forward. Speed was so fast that it didn't even make the people around him react. When he reappears, he has already come to the eyes of the 3 generations of Reikage. Fei Lu reminds you, and LT, please keep this for collection segment. Chapter 840, Fighting the 3rd Generation of Reikage. I single-handedly challenged tens of thousands of ninjas, and they have never been hurt by anyone, so it is called the strongest shield. Gong Yi couldn't help but smile as the thoughts in his mind. Then let's see today, are you like the 4th generation of Reikage, but you, just vain. The 8 inner gates are open. The 1st door is open. The 3rd door is open. The 6th scene is open. The 7th door is shocked. In one breath, the 8 inner gates are directly open to the 7th door. It is not that Gong Yi is afraid 3 generations of Reikage, but now when he is solving the shadows of the past, he is still, re-reviewing his own ninjutsu. Yes, the three shadows of the past are now the target for Gong Yi to use ninjutsu again. The 8 inner gates have not been opened for a long time. Now this is the first time since Gong Yi's real Ten Tails powers have been turned on. Feels good. It's a lot stronger than before. It seems that because of the 10 Tails, the 8 inner gates has also been completely enhanced. No, to put it bluntly, it seems that all of the secret ninjutsu skills that I master have been enhanced. The whole body is covered by blue steam, which is in sharp contrast with the 3rd generation of Reikage who is full of lightning in front. Gong Yi's 7th gate, the 3rd generation Reikage couldn't help showing horror on his face. This kind of feeling made him feel very oppressed. Although his body was out of control, all his senses were still there. The mysterious ninja in front of him, he actually strengthened again I don't know how many times. Heart beating wildly, the 3rd generation of Reikage has stopped speaking. Because Gong Yi threw his fist at him at a very fast speed. 3rd generation of Reikage crossed his hands in front of him, trying to resist. Bang! A muffled sound came out, followed by a loud bang. I saw the 3rd generation of Reikage swish all over, and flew out diagonally like a kite with a broken string. After hitting and smashing the stone Jinchuriki column that grows tall in the desert, it finally stopped. It seems that you of Impure World reincarnation are indeed a little too weak. Wait, 3 generations of Reikage reacted. Gong Yi had come to him again at this time. Everyone only felt a flash of blue light, and then Gong Yi stopped in front of the 3rd generation of Reikage. So strong. 3rd generation of Reikage's complexion has changed drastically, and his heart is completely unbelievable. He no longer knows how such a terrible ninja can appear now after his own death. Although he is not in his prime at the moment, and his power has been severely weakened. But the 3rd generation of Reikage, he can clearly understand one thing. Even though he is in his prime, he will deal with this young ninja in front of him. I'm afraid it will be very troublesome, and it will even come down. At this moment, the power of Gong Yi, the 3rd generation Laren is not clear. When he thought that Gong Yi was here, it was already the moment when he had fully exerted his full power. As everyone knows, he is. Well because of this skill, Gong Yi has opened the 8 inner gates. However, he still did not use all his power at all. Of the past dynasties in front of me are not worthy of Gong Yi's real power to treat. No, maybe there is no power at all in the entire ninja continent, and it really deserves to be taken seriously by Gong Yi. Maybe even Uchiha Madara, who became the 10 Tails Jinchuriki column power, and Otsutsuki Kagaya are completely the same. Now Gong Yi's power has actually surpassed the limit that the entire Hokage world should have. Time is dazzling, and when I come back to my senses, Gong Yi punches again. In the heart of the 3rd generation of Reikage, I just thought of these. The moment comes, the whole body has collapsed again. It was just a punch, but the 3rd generation of Reikage was unable to defend at all. Secret seal. At this time, Gong Yi took out a scroll behind him and threw it straight ahead. Seal. One-handed seal. Still, the 3 generations of Reikage who are gradually resurrected, the confetti is no longer floating in the sky at this moment. Next second, they all started to move in the direction of the scroll, and then all the dense ones were pasted on it. Then, at the moment when everyone was surprised, the scroll immediately appeared densely packed with incantation symbols. Apparently, Gong Yi was relieved, and the 3 generations of Reikage, the allied forces who were about to kill, were terrified and sealed. Next, Ni. Turning his head to the side, Gong Yi didn't show any excitement. His face was still light and cloudless, as if all this was just a random task. Don't wait for all the ninjas around to speak out or be shocked. Gong Yi's whole body was bursting with blue steam, and he immediately turned around. There was only air in front of him. Gong Yi had already thrown his fist out. With the sound of the wind howling fiercely, just as everyone was confused, they heard a bang again. There was a place where the air was originally, and there actually appeared figure. When he fully appeared, everyone saw it. Generation Tsuchikage knew who disappeared before. How is that possible? When he was punched by Gong Yi, the face of the second generation Tsuchikage Wu also showed a rare surprise. He couldn't imagine that someone could find his Wu Chen fan now. You know, this is a possession. It is impossible to perceive Chakra's terrifying invisibility ability. I was originally relying on this ability. I was called No One. But at this moment, I have been completely discovered by this young ninja in front of me. When did I discover it? Could it be that just now, I exposed some kind of flaw? The second generation Tsuchikage has no, although his face is covered with full of bandages. However, it can still be clearly felt. After that, the face that belonged to him was definitely full of horror. After all, he couldn't imagine that his Wu Chen fans would be easily perceived. Just when he was still thinking about it, the whole person involuntarily entered a state of concealment again. Now it's not what he thinks, but the body that is being manipulated and knows it actively. Swish. The second generation Tsuchikage has no hiding moment. Gong Yi's figure has begun to move. Blue steam burst out, like a blue light. Second generation Tsuchikage has just disappeared. Gong Yi has come to his side and punched again. Gong Yi next to him, and now the second generation Tsuchikage Wu can clearly know. Own Wu Chen is obsessed, it has been fully perceived. Therefore, the secret technique that I am proud of is in front of this young ninja. It has no effect at all.